All right, we're live here with Devon Armstrong. First, I'd like to thank Barrage Coffee for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Go to their website, barragecoffee.com. There's several different kinds. There's Snickerdoodle. There's Colombian. It's really good coffee, so check them out. Kyle, thank you for sponsoring us, man.
Have to give me some of that. Try that.
Yeah, it's good, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Been a while since I've seen you.
I know. Good to catch up.
Yeah. Almost didn't make it here.
I know. I thought I was gonna have to come bring you a battery.
Yeah. That was a crazy. Luckily there were a couple of nice gentlemen there was able to jump me off. I felt bad though because I called this roadside assistance company and they were gonna come jump me off. He's like, "I'll be there in 30 minutes." I was like, "Bet, just get here."
Yeah, I was nervous.
And then these guys come up and jump me off. I never called this company back to tell them that I actually got jumped off. So
really,
my bad.
Good stuff, man. So I want to jump into where you. I know you grew up sort of in the Mooresville area. Was it Statesville?
Sherrills Ford.
How was that growing up?
It's nice. Yeah, very small town. Very. I don't know, man. It was kind of cool being close to the racing industry, because that was like, you could go to Mooresville and at any time see a driver walking around Walmart with you or anything like that. And, it was, once I started getting into the racing industry, it was nice to kind of, cause I was still young, like just to be able to live at home. I didn't have to go get an apartment. Like some of these guys that, were coming down from different states to get into the racing industry. I didn't have to, I could live at home and save my money. So it was nice living, being from the area and working in the sport.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what all drivers would you see at Walmart? Junior and stuff like that? Because I know he used to hang out at Walmart back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I never really saw Junior there, but I mean, I would see Mike Blitz there from time to time. Michael Waltrip. I mean, he actually lived in Sherrills Ford, just right down the road from my parents, actually. So,
really?
Yeah, it would be nothing to walk into the gas station and right down the road from our house and see him in there, just about every day.
So, did you watch racing growing up, or was it something that just kind of, as you got older, you kind of was like, man, I want to get into the sport?
No, we were always race fans in our family growing up. I remember my granddad, he was a big Dell Senior fan, and he took me to my first race. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember it was a Legends car race at Charlotte. And I remember vaguely that the Cup cars, they would come out and practice. I guess it was practice or happy hour or something. And I remember like watching them go around the track, and so that was kind of like my first introduction. And after that, I got hooked. I remember having these little race cars when I was a kid, and we had this big propane tank out behind our house, and I would just make laps around this thing.
Really?
It had like a rust ring because I'd made so many laps. But yeah, I mean, we were always race fans growing up. And
you remember what year that was you went to your first race?
Had to have been 94, 95, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was really young. I mean, I vaguely remember, but I was really young.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So, that kind of propelled you to want to get into it? Did you know what you wanted to be in NASCAR? Or
no, I had no clue what the hell I was going to do.
Really?
All the way through high school. Not a damn clue, dude. I mean, I skated through high school just to, for me, high school was just a social gathering for me. I just went there to hang out with friends. I didn't really care about my grades or anything, so I didn't have a damn clue what I was going to do after high school. And
did you play sports?
No, I was in the marching band. I played on the drum line. So that was kind of like really what I loved doing, in high school. Play the drums and hang out with friends. And so we had this job fair at our local community college, and I remember seeing a NASCAR tech recruiter there. And I was like, damn, I like NASCAR. I'm going to go talk to this guy. So I went up, introduced myself, and he set up a meeting to come by and talk with me and my parents. And so he come by, he gave his whole spiel, and after that, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to NASCAR Tech, and I'm going to try to get a job in racing. And NASCAR Tech didn't really do what they kind of advertised they were going to do for me.
It's more for like working on your average car.
Yeah, that was the most frustrating thing was like I didn't do my first NASCAR class at that school until like a year in. So like I'm learning all this automotive stuff about cars, and I'm like, I don't want to work on cars for a living. What the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And so that finally, once I got into my first NASCAR class, I was like, all right, and then it started rolling from there. Like,
Dude, that's funny. They almost got me at Fort Riley, Kansas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was going to be totally paid for through the Montgomery GI Bill, but I had to put like a $250 deposit down. But I was like, you know what? The military did teach me to never volunteer. Always seek out what you're looking to before you do it. So we end up moving to Mooresville. I do a little walk through that place. I'm like, no, sir.
Right.
No, sir. So I ended up going to next door to 5 off, 5 on, which was Pickery at the time. Well, it was Pickery, then you go to 5 off, 5 on. But yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, what was crazy, I actually passed that place all the time and
didn't know what it was.
I had no damn clue what it was. And another crazy story about NASCAR Tech. So this was a couple years into me being in the sport. I get a Facebook message from a buddy of mine who was going there just a few years after I'd left.
John?
No, me and John actually went at the same time.
Really?
That's where we met each other. But no, it was Clayton Brewer. I don't know if you know his name or not.
Vaguely.
He worked at Stewart Hospital. But anyway, he messaged me on Facebook one day. He's like, dude, your pictures are hanging up in here at NASCAR Tech. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? My pictures are hanging up. And he goes and takes a picture of this wall, and they had like a wall of fame there. And they had gone on my Facebook and poorly cropped out all my pictures of me, like with race teams, my fire suits on and stuff, and printed them off and put them on this wall of fame. They were like super pixelated, so you knew that they had just printed them off my Facebook page.
Wow.
So I ended up calling the school and was like, hey, why do you guys have my pictures on your wall?
I want some money. You're using me to recruit.
Well, that's where they got me. Was as soon as I signed the contract, I signed away any rights to like my social media or anything like that.
That's what NASCAR does, man.
Yeah.
Crazy, ain't it?
Yep.
So you got a crazy background, man. I want to know what happened at where was the place you were working at? Radio Shack. What happened there, buddy?
So 2009, late 2009, early 2010, I was working like just a part-time job at Radio Shack, selling cell phones, doing whatever. And I was actually robbed at gunpoint at that place.
Like point blank in your face.
It was in my back. Yeah. We had opened up it was me and my manager had come in early on a Sunday morning. And this is probably why this place is out of business, because they didn't know how to run their business. But we're the only place open at 9 a.m. in a shopping center in Huntersville. So there's no one's there. Like, why would, who the hell's going to be shopping at Radio Shack at 9 in the morning?
For real.
But so I get there early in the morning. I'm counting down the drawer, and I see this guy walk by out of my peripheral through the front door, and he just walks past the door, and I'm like, whatever, that was no big deal. Keep counting down the drawer, and I finish, and I walk out of the it was like this semicircle thing we had where the cashier stood, and I walk out and I go sit on this bar stool because I know it's going to be an hour or two before anybody shows up, so I'm not going to stand there. And this guy comes walking in. So I stand up and I give him my whole, welcome to Radio Shack. Can I help you find? And he didn't say anything to me. I was like, all right, well, I'll go fuck myself. And he walks past me and he goes out of my line of sight.
Yeah.
And he asked me from the back of the store, he says, hey, man, you guys have any laptops? And I was like, no, man, we're fresh out. And we literally were. Because sometimes I would lie to the customers just to get them out. And,
that's a great selling tip.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, when you're 19, you don't want to deal with customers.
No, I agree.
So this guy, I start hearing like his feet and his pants shuffling like faster, like he's running behind me. And it was this moment where I was like, it kind of clicked that I was like, this isn't good. Like he shouldn't be this close behind me walking that fast. And sure enough, his left arm come around my chest and put something in my back. And at first I thought it was a stapler, because it rattled, like it made a lot of damn noise. And so I looked, and it was a pistol. It was a silver top with a black handle. Because if it was a stapler, I mean, this guy were going to go around it too. And he says, hey, let's go get the money. And so he walks me back into the circle. So I open up the cash till and I start flipping the flaps up. And he's like, no. He's like, pull it out. Let's go in the back. This guy was super nervous. Like I could tell, like this was either like an initiation robbery. Like, he was just as scared as I was. So we go in the back, and I kid you not, my manager's in the back. She's sitting at a computer doing whatever paperwork she's having to do.
So she don't even know this is all happening yet.
She sees it going on. Like she on the security, and I'm like, after it was all said and done, I'm like, Amanda, why didn't you call the damn cops? You were sitting in there, you had 10 minutes. And but I shit you not, we go into the door. where the back was, and it was like a movie. She's sitting in this revolving chair, and she just turns like super slow to watch us coming in, and I'm just like, you didn't call the police, like you see it happening on the TV. And so this guy, we go in there, we had this cage where we kept all the cell phones and stuff locked up, and so he tells me to put the money thing right there. So I put it down, and he leans down, and he starts taking this money out. And there's a moment when I'm thinking, like, he doesn't have the gun on us. I could, like, I don't know, kick this guy in the head or something. But luckily I thought better and was like, I'm just going to see how this plays out. And my manager at the time is 9 months pregnant. Like, she's getting ready to have this kid at any time. I thought she was going to probably have that kid that day.
Oh, man.
In the Radio Shack stock room. So this guy stands back up. He's got all the money. He takes my wallet from me. I got a couple $100 cash in there. And he's like, all right, you guys go in the bathroom. And that's when it's like, kind of like, I was like, this is where he shoots us. Like, I'm going to die today. So I started kind of like, I started preparing. Like, I was like, literally like, this guy's going to shoot me he's going to shoot us I'm going to die in a damn bathroom, man. Like, this is how it's going to end.
It's real shitty.
Yeah, literally. No pun intended. And so he tells us to get down on our knees. And he's standing in the doorway. And I could tell you what this guy looked like to this day. I mean, I could put him out in a lineup. And he looks at us and he goes, I'm going to be out here. If you come out, I'm going to pop you. And he shut the door and left. We sat in that bathroom for probably 10 minutes. My manager, Amanda's crying. And I'm like, I'm in shock. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So finally, I'm like, well, we can't sit in the bathroom all day. So I go out and I like crack the door where I could see the TV. And I didn't see anybody in the store. So I walked out in the stock room, called 911. And I kid you not, dude, as soon as I hung up with 911, the police walked in the door. It couldn't have been 5 minutes. They had to have passed. They probably waved at the guy as he drove by him. Like, it was that fast.
Damn.
It was crazy.
Did they ever catch the guy?
So, funny story. I was coming back from Bristol. It was the Bristol night race. And my manager she texted me randomly. She's like, hey,
did she have the baby that day or what?
No, she didn't. She had a beautiful baby girl, though. I think it was a couple weeks later. So
cool deal.
But so we were coming back from Bristol night race. This was probably 2014. And she texted me randomly out of the blue. She's like, hey, remember that time we got robbed at Radio Shack? I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, I've got somebody from the Huntersville PD like emailing me wanting to know if I could point this guy out. And she's like, I couldn't, but do you remember? I'm like, hell yeah, I remember this guy. I can point him out to this day. He was wearing a white shirt, black pants, had no hat. I mean, I know exactly what the hell what he looked like.
He wasn't wearing a damn mask?
Nope, nothing.
Jackass.
And so she emails me over this picture, and I'll be damned if it wasn't the guy. I said, that's him. And she said, he's going down for 25 years. Apparently, he tried to rob another store in Concord Mills Mall, and they caught his ass. And
shit.
So they're trying to tie him back to all of his previous robberies, and sure enough, they got him.
Wonder if he really had a gun or a stapler.
That was a gun.
Was it really?
I saw the gun, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did see the gun.
Damn. That's crazy.
It made a lot of, like I said, that was the noisiest gun I've handled quite a few firearms, and that I've never heard a gun that rattled that bad.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So what was your first race?
I had done a few like Hooters Pro Cup races.
You know who drove?
Yeah, JP Morgan.
JP Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
It's fun. That was one of the probably the funner deals that I've done in my career, because they were a family-owned team, and the dude was a wheelman. Like, the dude had a chance to win every week we went out there.
Really?
It was either him or his name was Caleb. I can't remember his last name, though. It was always between those two battling it out. And they paid us $200 cash every time we did this deal.
It's not a bad deal.
No, it was a good deal. It was a good starter deal. And I can't remember how we got hooked up with them, but we drove around everywhere. So it was me and John, and we were going to
DeRocher?
Yeah, John DeRocher. Good dude. Love that guy.
Yeah, man, he's great.
And we were going to go do the South Boston Hooters Pro Cup race.
Done that one before. It's fun.
It was a good one. And so we get all the way up there, and John, we're unloading I think we took his Camaro. And
the red one?
Yeah. And he's unloading the back, and he's like, where's my damn pit gun?
I heard this story.
Yeah. And he goes, where's my damn pit gun? I was like, I don't know, John, it's your pit gun. I got my gloves. That's all I need.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think I left my damn pit gun in my apartment.
Oh my God.
So luckily I think it was I'm pretty pretty sure this was the Hooters Pro Cup race, but he crashed out in qualifying. They didn't have a backup car. So John, he just got lucky on that one.
Oh my
Because he was
God.
going to have to use like one of their like electric impacts.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But in Hooters Pro Cup, I mean, if you did,
Would have been better than spinning it with your finger.
yeah, I mean, in Hooters Pro Cup, if you did a 18-second pit stop,
Oh,
you
yeah.
were a stud there.
I pitted Slocum, and this dude was going 4 wide and passing dudes around the top of that racetrack. And South Boston's not a wide racetrack at all.
No, that's a cool little racetrack.
It is
good racing there.
Was there a pit wall or not? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, to be honest with you.
That was my first race, and we were leading coming down. So Brandon Harder?
Yeah.
He was our gas man. Oh, no. He was our jack man. Excuse me. He was jacking at the time. Randy Olson was my changer. She was badass. I can't remember the two that was up front. I think Rock. I don't know. I can't remember who was up front, but I left a wedge wrench in the window.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cluster fuck, to be honest with you. And he goes back out, and obviously we got a penalty. Dude starts last. Drives all the way back up to third. And I don't know what happened. I think it rained and it rained out or something. But we probably would have won the damn race. But as soon as we got paid, they're like, "You're fired, all of you."
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Dude ended up passing away, man.
Really?
Yeah, he had cancer or something, but he was a fucking wheelman, dude. Real young guy. He was from Macon, Georgia. But anyway. So when did you do the snowball derby?
That would have been 2010, late 2010, 2011, somewhere around there.
Cool race.
Yeah, that's like a.
There's definitely no wall there. I know that.
No, that is a scary. Looking back now, like, I mean, you had to be an idiot to pit that race because there's no pit road speed on it. Is there?
I can't remember, but I know there's no damn wall.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like the scariest thing in the world, but it was like there was like a prestige, like, or like
it's the biggest race.
Yeah, it's like a big
late model race ever.
Everyone wants to do it. And so I had gotten a phone call. I don't even know if I'll say the guy's name, but he's like, "Hey man, you want to come down and do the snowball derby?" I'm like, and at this time it paid $500 cash.
I know who you're talking about already.
To go do this deal. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll go down." He's like, "All right, well, van leaves at whatever time."
I definitely know who you're talking about now.
And so we drive down, and I mean, it's me and some of the old gun broker guys. I don't know if you remember that truck.
Oh yeah.
But there's a bunch of gun broker guys that were doing this deal with us. And we pull into it was like a 9-hour drive down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we pull in this hotel, and it's right next to it's tiki bar. And I already know, I'm like, this is not good.
Not gonna be good.
This is not gonna be good at all. And that was like very early in my career. So like I was like straight and narrow, trying to like make a good impression on everybody. So I went to bed early at like 9 o'clock that night. I hear these jamooks out here freaking partying until 4 a.m.
Oh yeah.
My roommate comes walking in. I don't know the guy, but he comes walking in drunk. He's like singing to himself. He's drunk.
Do you know who he was?
I can't remember the guy's name, but there were 2 Grunberger guys, and one of them was my roommate. One was a changer, one was a carrier. But I remember they were decked out in all their Gunberger stuff, the Jason White truck deal.
The orange Gunberger deal. Yeah.
So we get up the next morning, and these guys are like, I mean, they're
lit.
I mean, still drunk. And so we go to this deal where we set the whole thing up.
Hot as hell.
Oh, I mean, it's hot. It's the panhandle of Florida. I mean, it's humid. Mosquitoes carrying you away. So the race starts, and we do our first pit stop, and and we're pitting for, I can't remember, Donnie Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's a
wheelman.
He's going to win the damn thing. And
did Chase Elliott win that year?
That was Joanna Long that won it that year.
Okay, that's the year I didn't go.
Yeah, that was when they had like the Long Mahal is what they called it, where all her family had like that whole section rented out.
Mm-hmm.
So we do our first pit stop, and it is an absolute shit show. I mean, we come in. I mean, we're losing 10 spots on pit road to late model pit crew. I mean, there were cup crews there, but I mean, we were getting our asses handed to us.
Really?
So Freddie, the crew chief, yelling at us on the radio, "Get your shit together." So these guys are splashing water on their face, trying to pull it together. We come in for another pit stop. We lose another 5 to 8 spots.
In a damn late model race?
Late model race. These guys, I mean, these guys couldn't. I'm pretty sure the jack fell at some point. I mean, these guys were just sloshed. Dude, they couldn't do it. So after that second pit stop, Donnie said, "You guys need to do something. I got a car that can win this race. Figure it out." And so I think one of the KBM late model cars had crashed out really early in that deal. So Freddie sends one of his guys down there, because when you're inside the snowball derby, I mean,
You can't go out.
You can't get out.
Yeah.
So everyone's sitting there waiting for the race to be over.
Yep.
So they go and get this KBM pit crew, and I see him walking up. I don't know what I didn't know any of this was going down, and I see all these KBM guys carrying their jacks, their pit guns, and all. I'm like, what is happening right now? So we got Chad Knaust before getting Chad Knaust to school. They pulled us off that damn car in the middle of the race. And so I'm sitting in the infield. I'm mad. I mean, and they only paid us half of what they were going to pay us because when we'd done 2 pit stops. So I'm sitting in the infield and I'm watching Donnie Wilson lead this thing with like 50 to go. And I'm like, he's going to win the snowball derby. And we just got pulled off this damn car.
Wow.
Yeah. But luckily, I'll say luckily, I hate it for him. But Joanna, I think either dumped him or something. She ended up winning that thing. But
damn,
that was a nightmare. I actually ended up calling Freddie the next day, the crew chief. And I mean, I hated to be a narc, but I told him, I was like, dude, here's what was going on. And he's like, I hated to do it to you guys, but we had a car that was going to win the damn race and I had to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to cut your losses.
Yeah. So yeah, we got Chad Knaust before it was cool.
Yeah. I know quite a few people that got that raw deal too.
Yeah.
So was that one of your first races ever?
No, like I said, we did the Hooters Pro Cup stuff for a long time before that. But my actual first NASCAR race.
NASCAR.
Yeah, that would have been considered, I guess, if you want to consider a NASCAR race. But yeah, that would have been probably my first. And then my first actual NASCAR sanctioned event was probably, I think, Nashville, the Truck Series.
Cool track.
Yeah, they actually they shut that track down, I think, that year. And they just started going back this year with the Cup Series, Nashville Super Speedway. But the truck race I did was for Mario Goslin.
Oh, geez.
And the
12 truck?
12 truck. Yeah, the Tire Monkey.
You were part of that monkey crew, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and I remember that was so scary because like we drove up there and it's like the 6-hour drive. So I have all this time to think about like, damn, like I'm getting ready to jump off the wall at a NASCAR, my first ever NASCAR race. This is what I've dreamed about. So like, man, I've got bubble guts. I'm all kinds of tore up.
Nervous. Dude,
So,
I never got nervous.
Really?
Never. I don't know why.
I was still nervous up until my last race I ever pit.
Really?
Every race. I don't know why, but I always have this feeling that something's going to go wrong. I don't know why. I have this feeling like when we're leading, when I was at Penske and we'd be leading races, I would always think, what's going to go wrong? Like, I always just have that feeling.
That's crazy.
Reason. But yeah, I was nervous doing pit stops. It
was more of a thrill for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do another one right now.
Yeah. I think it's me being such an anxiety ridden person. Like,
yeah.
It was just, I was always just scared to fuck up. I didn't, because you know how it is. I mean, you mess up one time. I mean, they're going to pull you off the damn car. Especially
if it's a good round car.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're pitting this truck race at Nashville. And I've got Willie Oots is my changer.
Oh, Willie, long-haired Willie.
Yeah, and this
greasy.
This guy, man, I don't know what his deal was, but this guy was cracked out, man. He would be chain smoking. I'd watch him smoke 4 cigarettes in between pit stops.
He'd smoke some cigarettes.
He'd have one lit in each hand. So we're getting ready to do my first ever pit stop. It's like, and of course it's going to be a green flag pit stop. So you're going to be on pit road while everybody's watching, and we go by and I hear pitting this time. So we jump up on the wall and I'm nervous, buddy. I'm shaking and I've got really bad vertigo. So I did some scuba diving like back in the day and I blew one of my eardrums out. And ever since then, I've really suffered with vertigo. So I'm like looking down pit road and I kind of lose my balance and I fall onto pit road with the tire in my hand. I look like an idiot. And Willie Oots is like, what? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? I thought you passed out. Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. Just help me back up. So I'm like handing him the tire. I'm trying to jump back on the pit wall. And Mario Goslin comes by right as he's getting ready to say, all right, we're pitting this time, and gets clipped and noses it straight into the wall. Never got to do the pit stop.
Really?
Never got to do my first NASCAR pit stop.
Did you get paid?
Yeah, we got paid. Yeah.
See, I heard some stories that he didn't like to pay.
I heard a lot of stories about that guy.
Yeah.
He used to dress his kids up as monkeys.
Yeah, it's weird.
And yeah, it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
The monkey outfits. You see him walking around pit road.
So
I'm pretty sure they had leashes on him too. It's kind of weird.
Doesn't surprise me. I think he's from Canada.
Is that where he's from?
Yeah, I believe.
I don't remember when he got out of the sport. He just kind of faded away.
I think he did a race not too long ago, to be honest with you. I kind of tuned into a race and saw it, but is that the time you fell off the wall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fell right off the damn wall, man. Looking down pit road, just out.
Did it ever happen again?
No.
Did you ever pit at Kentucky at the old wall where it was like 6 foot tall?
No, I'd heard about it though.
Oh my God. It was like standing on a 2x4, man.
Really?
Yeah, but an angled 2x4. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then they reconfigured it
Yeah.
and made the pit wall a lot better. But
I did get pushed off pit wall one time by I can't remember the guy's name. He was a rear changer on the 20 car at Gibbs for a while. He was in the military. He had a lot of tattoos.
Chris Taylor
pushed me off. I was on the 21 Cup car. We're pitting at Bristol, and they're pitting right in front of us same time. And he's trying to take all the room he can get to make that swing.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't care. He just elbowed me, knocked me right off the wall.
He used to be on the same crew as me. Hell of a fucking baseball player, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's a good dude. Like if you get to talk to him, he's a really nice guy. But
got to give a shout out to Marty from New York. He's watching. He watches everyone. If you want to say hey to him.
What's up, Marty?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, Chris Taylor, he's loose cannon, man. Yeah. But he's a badass.
I didn't say anything to him. I wasn't going to. Either.
He's a badass, dude.
Just push me off what you need.
He's an ex-Marine. I'm actually going to reach out to him, try to get him on the show too. Yeah, he's a good guy. But tell me about how long were you in it till you got on what is it, was it Matt Crafton's truck or
no, that was so I went up. That was
moved to Sandusky.
Yeah, at ThorSport. So that would have been the end of 2011. I moved up there, and so I had gone through the entire 2010, 2011 years, just doing these pickup deals for truck teams and driving everywhere.
Who ran them deals? Cruiser,
EFAL, Nick Sutton. No, I never did any deals for EFAL.
Really?
No, I never got to do that. But so for 2 years I had been driving all over the damn country, making $300, working at Radio Shack, and I had told my girlfriends and now my wife, I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like I don't want to keep driving all over the country, being gone for 2 or 3 days, living on the road. If I'm gonna and making $400 at the time was good because I was still living at home with my parents. So I was like, I was making good money for a 20-year-old kid, but I wanted to just do it full time. I didn't want to work at Radio Shack anymore.
Well, people got to understand the truck series, they don't run every weekend. No. So you're not making what, 4, 8, 12, $1,600 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and it was never the same truck either. So, it would have been different if I were doing the same truck, but it would be the 93 truck one week, the 85, the next. It was just all over the place. And then half the time these deals would fall through. You'd get a last minute text message the day before you're supposed to leave and say, hey, they're not going to run, or they're not going to run the whole race. They're going to start in park.
Yeah. So
I had just gotten burned out. I was like, dude, I don't want to do, like, if I'm going to do this, I need to make a move. And so 2011, I'd started going up to DJ Copp's place. Mm-hmm. And he had the 98 truck. ThorSport was looking at starting a third truck team, and they were outsourcing their pit crew to him.
Yeah.
And so me and John went up there and started trying to get on this deal. Well, DJ ended up putting us on this deal, which that joker still owes me $300 for that.
Yeah, DJ, pay up.
Yeah, pay up, sucker.
What's funny, I don't want to stop you, but Jerosher talked to me about this whole deal. I don't know, did he ever tell you about that? He's like, man, what should I do? What should I do? I'm like, because he wasn't getting anything through Hendrick. He was gluing up tires, because me and him worked at the pit department at the time. Yeah. I'm like, fucking do it, dude. It's a big opportunity for you. And look where it led him.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was cool, man. Because I remember he was saying that you were going up there with him. I'm like, dude, that's a perfect opportunity for y'all to grow together.
Yeah, he was the one that, because I was really hesitant at first to go because I was such a homebody. I was
scared to get out of your comfort zone.
I didn't want to leave North Carolina and Ohio. Who wants to live in Ohio?
I was born there, dick.
Oh, my bad, man.
No, it's shithole.
Well, Sandusky was cool. if you like going to
Cedar Point
every day. Yeah. But so finally I was like, ThorSport had so we were doing this deal through DJ Copp, and he sent us to do one of the races, and it was Chicago. So we put the 98 truck at Chicago, and the crew chief, Dan Stillman, was like, listen, we need guys. We're going to start this deal full time. We need guys up here. So me and John were like, I don't know, man. Like, John was like, let's do it, dude. Like, we're not getting anywhere. We're doing these one-off deals. Like, we got to do something. And I'm like, you're right. So I told my girlfriend, who's now my wife, I was like, I'm gonna move up there, do this for a year, get some, because no team is gonna hire you without experience. And like, no. If you don't have anything on your resume, they're just not gonna hire you.
No.
And I didn't have that on my resume. I had these little one-off truck deals, but nobody cares about that.
No.
And so I was like, let me go up here, get this on my resume for a year, and I'll come back. And she's like, okay. And so in October of 2011, me and John loaded up his Camaro. I didn't have any. I just literally took a bag of clothes and
No
a
shit.
twin bed. That's all I took with me.
Damn. How the fuck you fit the bed in that car?
I don't know. We did.
That's crazy.
We did it somehow.
Loud ass Camaro.
Yeah. Funny story about that Camaro. I actually got John. We had driven to New Hampshire in that thing one time. He's from Plattsburgh, New York. So that's like 4 hours away. So we actually drove past New Hampshire to get to his hometown, to sleep at his house, just to drive 4 hours back to New Hampshire.
Jesus.
Yeah. But his parents are very nice people. It's actually a really nice town.
Really?
Yeah. When you think of New York, everybody thinks of the city, but Plattsburgh, man, it's a gorgeous area. It's like very north. It almost reminds you of like the Northwest, very wooded, a lot of pine trees. Yeah, beautiful area. But anyway, so we were coming back from New Hampshire, and it was my turn to drive the Camaro, and I didn't know that thing was a 6-speed. So when you had it in 6th gear, I mean, you had no idea how fast you were going if you weren't looking at the speedometer. And I crested this hill. I was doing 96, and right as I crested the hill, there was a state trooper there, and I got John a ticket, 96 and a damn 65. I was hauling it. But anyway. So we move up to Ohio, 2011, and I'm miserable. Like, this is my first time away from home. I miss my parents, miss my girlfriend. I'm like, this sucks, man. And we moved up there like right as winter starting.
Yeah, it's cold as shit.
It was cold. I remember like they had this mall up there, and we went to the mall to game. This is the weirdest mall in the world, and I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but this mall had 2 GameStops that were 20 feet apart.
Really?
Really weird.
That is weird.
It's like some Ohio cult stuff. I don't know what was going on in that second GameStop, but
way to go, Ohio.
I'm suspicious. So I remember we come out of the mall.
Dude, can't sell enough games, man. That's all there is to do there.
That must have been what it was. But we come out of this mall, dude, and I shit you not, it's snowing so hard I can't see the parking lot. I'm like, we went in, it wasn't snowing. Like, and we come out and it's snowing. So I'm like, this sucks, man. But once I started getting like integrated with the guys, and the 2012 season started up, and we kind of like formed, like, because they had hired a bunch more guys from California, and we built this team. And looking back on it, 2012 was probably the funnest year I've ever had in racing.
Truck series is fun, man.
Dude, it was a blast. Man, we had a good team. I mean, it was Dakota Armstrong. I mean, that guy couldn't drive that great. But
no.
But it was so fun, man. We drove to a lot of the races from, because when you're in Ohio, I mean, you're there at Pocono, you're only 8 hours from Iowa, so
Chicago.
We drove to a lot of the races, but it was fun, like the van trips were fun. I mean, we had a good solid group.
Who was the designated driver? Did y'all trade up?
No, Dan Stillman, the crew chief.
No shit.
He drove every damn week. He wouldn't. I think he was he was probably like me. Like, if we go on a road trip, I don't trust anybody else to drive.
Yeah.
So I would just drive. But Dan must have been the same way, because we'd stop for gas. But Dan, let us take over. And he'd be like, nah, I got it. And he would just drive. And Dan,
control freak.
And Dan was like I don't want to say a big time crew chief, but he crew chiefed at a lot of big race teams, like the DEI. He'd crew chiefed a lot of big names.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I mean, that was a fun deal. And so 2011 or 2012, we go through that whole season, and there were some rumors spreading around that Dakota's family wasn't happy with the performance of the truck, and his family funded a lot of that deal through I guess they own like a bunch of ethanol farms.
Really?
Yeah, they own a bunch of corn farms that they supply the corn with ethanol. But anyway, they weren't happy with the performance of the race team, and so there were some rumors going around that they were going to shut the team, that they were going to take Dakota's money and go somewhere else. So I'm thinking, damn, man, like I moved up to Ohio, and I'm going to get laid off because they're going to shut this team down. Well, luck would have it that the front carrier on the 13 for Jonny Sauter was actually going to take a position down at, it wasn't GMS yet. I don't know what team it was before GMS.
Shit, I can't remember.
Anyway, he was going to take a position and come, or maybe he was going to Red Horse. That's what it was.
Red Horse Racing.
I think he was going to Red Horse. So they ended up splitting apart the 98 crew, because they ended up shutting that deal down.
Who was that carrier? Do you remember?
TJ Fleming.
Oh yeah, I remember TJ. Yeah, he went back to Red. He started off there.
Yeah, and so he ended up leaving. So they ended up putting me on the 13 truck, which was like my first taste of like competitive racing.
Yeah, he ran pretty strong.
Yeah, with Johnny. That's where I actually got my first win.
Really?
Yeah, Texas with Johnny.
Did you get a hat?
No, they didn't buy us hats. I see you back there, man. Staring me in the eyes. No, they never got us one.
KBM got us then, man. It was badass of them.
Yeah, I wanted one really bad.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Just saying.
Yeah.
Johnny, pay up.
Yeah, right. What Johnny actually did, he got us this picture frame for Christmas. It was signed. It was like a picture of him doing the burnout during the win.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it was.
Hat would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been. That looked good.
No, that's awesome.
That looked good in the trophy case.
Yeah, for real.
But what was cool? So like right before they moved me to the 13, they were trying to find drivers to fill this 98 seat because there were still some secondary sponsors that had obligations on the truck, and they put Travis Pastrana in the truck.
And, I think I remember that.
And I'm telling you, you're talking about one of the coolest guys you'll ever talk to. And Travis is like super laid back.
Yeah.
And I remember I was the tire specialist on that deal. And I was doing tires after qualifying. And Travis had left all his stuff in the truck. And so I'm checking all the tire pressures after we roll them into the garage. And once you get done with qualifying, they're impounded. Like you can't touch the trucks. Yeah. So I feel this guy come walking up behind me. And I turn around and it's Travis. And he's just standing there staring at me. And I'm like, can I help you?
That's awkward.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what's up, dude? And he was like, can I get my stuff out of the truck? And I'm like, no, you can't. And he was like, all right. And he just turned around and left. And I was like, that was kind of weird. But he was an interesting character. But so during practice that weekend, he spun the truck out.
On purpose?
Oh, yeah. That was the first time. Like Dakota had always told us how tight our trucks were.
Yeah.
Like they're too tight. I can't turn it. Travis goes out there lap 1 of practice and spins the damn thing out. He's like, it's too loose. And he's laughing.
Really?
He gets it, like he stops the truck and he keys the radio laughing. He's like, it's loose, man. I can't. He's like laughing about it. I'm like, this crazy asshole.
So let me get this right. You were the tire specialist on the 98 truck, but you pitted the 13. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of jumping around.
That's nuts. Yeah. Worked out though, right?
Yeah, it ended up working out. So at the end of 2012, I called my wife and I was like, listen, I'm probably going to end up staying another year.
Oh boy.
I was like, because I was like, this is a good deal. I was like, I'm not getting any bites down in North Carolina. I got nothing. And she was like, well, and we were getting married the next year. I had proposed to her while we were up in Ohio. Damn. And we were going to get married the next year. And I was like, you're going to have to come up here. And she's like, all right, we got to do what we got to do.
Why didn't she come up to begin with? Just stability?
No, her mom is pretty old fashioned.
Gotcha.
I love her mom to death. But
so you really wanted y'all to be married first?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
You know, looking back, I'm glad we did it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It worked out. But so yeah, it was. We were about a month from Daytona, going to Daytona with Johnny, and I get a phone call from our old truck chief on the 98, Rick Bennett. He had already gone back down to North Carolina to work for Front Row. And he calls me at 6:30 in the morning. And Rick is like really spazzy. Like if you knew Rick, you would know him.
What's his name?
Rick Bennett. He'd been around for a long time. He'd worked at DEI and a lot of places, but he's really spazzy. And I answer the phone. He's like, what are you doing, Devon? I said, I'm sleeping, Rick. It's 6:30 in the morning. He's like, you're getting ready to get a phone call from a guy named Jerry Freeze. You need to answer it. I said, all right, well, I answer it. So he hangs up, and it was actually more, it was probably about an hour or two later. Finally, Jerry calls me, and he says, hey, we're looking for a tire specialist on our 35 car down here. And when it runs full time, we need you to pit for it. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'd be interested in that. He's like, it's going to pay $800 a week to work on the road. And then I'll pay you an extra $4 to go over anytime you go over the wall. And so I was like, damn. I was like, the 35 car, I'm like thinking back. I'm like, this car's a starting park. Like, why? Yeah. I don't know if I want to go do this or not. So I hang up the phone, call my wife. And my wife is she's no help at all. Like, she's always like, just do what you want. Like, do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, woman, you got to talk to me here. Like, tell me what you want me to do.
Build this foundation.
And so I knew in my heart I wanted to get back down to North Carolina.
Absolutely.
But I was having so much fun in Ohio with these guys. And I knew we were going to be competitive with Johnny. Like, I just knew, like, you know, John, if you just knew Johnny gets a bad rap for being kind of an asshole, but the dude is.
We had a run in him.
He's the greatest guy in the world. When he's off the track and in the shop with you, I mean, he's working on the truck with you. I mean, he's such a good guy. So that morning this was probably a Thursday morning. I just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go back down to North Carolina.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I had just signed a new lease on an apartment. Like, I just moved into a new apartment. So I go into the shop. and Joe Shear, that Jamook, he wouldn't show up until like 10. He wouldn't show up till 10 o'clock in the morning. Like we worked 8 to 5. This guy wouldn't show up till 10 o'clock in the morning.
He looks like the lead singer from the Rascal Flatts.
He kind of does. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I think about that.
Every time I see him, I think of that.
That's hilarious. So I had to wait for this guy to show up.
That's what had me giggling.
And so I go into his office. I said, "Hey Joe, man, I hate to come tell you this." I said, "But I think I'm going to take this position down at Front Row." And this was like a month before Daytona. Like our Daytona truck is on the plate, like getting ready to go. And he's like, "Front Row, you going to move out to Denver, Colorado?" I'm like,
"That's Furniture Row." Yeah.
"Denver, Colorado? What the hell are you talking about, Joe?" He was like, "Oh, I know what you're talking about now." He's like, "You really going to do this to me a month before Daytona?" I said, "What do you want?" I said, "I got to do it, man." Like I wasn't making any money at ThorSport. I was making
just to pay your rent,
just enough to pay my rent. And then they ended up getting in trouble. Like we were working a ton of overtime.
Boy.
They ended up getting in trouble with the labor board for not paying people overtime because I was a salary guy there. So if I worked and then I got smart and started doing the math. I'm like, I'm working from 8 till midnight. I'm like, damn, I'm making $8 an hour here. What the hell's going on? So they ended up getting in trouble with the labor board. I ended up getting a check in the mail the next year for like $4,000 for backed overtime.
Good. That's what they get.
Yeah. So yeah,
a lot of people in racing do that.
Oh yeah,
and they've got busted.
Well, that's why they started doing the Chinese overtime thing.
Yep.
They pay halftime. But anyway, so
still bullshit.
Oh yeah, because you're losing. I mean, they cut your time in half. You're losing money basically at that point. But so I tell him I'm quitting. I go talk to David Pepper, the team manager. I say, "Hey man, I'm leaving." And I didn't work a notice. Like this was a Thursday or a Friday. I was in North Carolina on Monday working at Front Row.
How the hell did you get back?
My parents came up.
Really?
They drove up. When I called my mom, and she brought her SUV up, and literally I had her back up to, because I had a lower level apartment. I had her back up to my apartment, and I was just slinging shit.
Really?
Into the back of her, because I didn't want the property man. I had found somebody to take over my lease. I was like, my buddy Matt Philpott was like, "I'll move in and take over your lease for you," because he was looking to get. He's a good dude.
Didn't he jack the 88?
The 88 and the 98.
Yeah, I worked with him at RCR.
Yeah, he's
a spazastic too.
He's a character.
He's
a good dude. But he and I lived together I actually had to go bail his ass out of jail one time.
Really?
He probably don't want me telling this story, but he got pulled over for DUI. I had to go bail his ass out of jail.
No shit.
He made it back to the apartment.
He got pulled over in the park.
No, he left. He made it back to the apartment fine. He was like, "Damn, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go out and get something," and then left and got pulled over in Taco Bell's parking lot.
Jeez.
I kid you not. So yeah.
Dumbass.
So I load all my stuff up, man, and I'm southbound back down to North Carolina. And
shout out to mom to coming up there and getting you.
Yeah, love her to death. She passed away a couple years ago, but man.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, but yeah, she came up and got me, man. We drove all the way back down, toolbox and everything in this SUV.
Damn, that's a long drive.
Yeah, it was like 8 hours.
Yeah. Still, I mean,
but I would
8 hours up, 8 hours back.
Dude, I would make that drive just about every other weekend.
No shit.
Just to come down and see my wife. Yeah.
You need to come up and come hunting with us in November.
Yeah, I'm down. I've never been hunting. I keep trying to find somebody that'll take me, but I'd love to go.
Come on, you're more than welcome.
I want to do it.
And we'll talk about it after the show. So what happened with you and David Ragan? I heard this is an interesting story.
Yeah. So I started at Front Row on the 35, and Gary Smith was our pit coach out there.
Gary.
And so I
old full of shit Gary.
Yeah, I got
love him to death, but
he would tell some stories.
Yeah, he would.
So anyway, we do our first practice with the 35 guys, and I mean, I crushed it. I mean, and Gary pulls me aside. He's like, "I can't have you on the 35 car." He's like, "I need you on the 34 car."
Yeah.
So literally my first week at Front Row, I got moved from the 35 to the 34. And they made me tire specialist and tire carrier on the 34 car. And Yeah, and I'm thinking, I handled it pretty well in the truck series, but in the truck series, you only get 4 sets of tires.
Yeah.
In the Cup series, you get 14 sets of tires.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. But not at Front. Well, so at Front Row, they would buy them like 6 sets, and then they would buy some used.
Yeah, later on.
So that was hard to manage. Like going to the track on Thursday, doing tires, and then trying to do your air pressure adjustment, because sometimes crew chiefs will make a last minute air pressure adjustment like
While on pit road.
while on pit road.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'd finally gone to Jerry Freeze, and I was like, I either need to be a tire guy or I need to be a pit crew guy, and I know I want to be a pit crew guy, so we need to figure it out. And so they hired this new tire guy to take over, and they made me just a pit crew guy only. And then I worked in the shop doing teardown. And the weekend that they hired this new tire guy, we flipped the tires.
Oh boy!
At Martinsville, of all places, we put a right on a left and a left on a right. And I didn't take
good.
I didn't take my tires back then. I just
explain to people what flipping tires means.
So when you put tires in sets, the right side tires are a larger diameter than the left side tires, which is called stagger.
Yep.
It's basically like putting a cup on its side and pushing it, and the larger side, it makes it go in a circle better.
Yep.
And so when you put a left side tire on the right, it makes the car feel like it's got a flat tire because you've got the smaller diameter tire on the right. And so somehow that had happened at Martinsville. And that's a big play. Like if you do it at like Daytona, it's not a big deal because the tires are pretty similar. Because you don't need the stagger to get through the corner quite as well. But at Martinsville, stagger is
huge.
That's a huge deal. And so that deal almost got me fired from Front Row because they had blamed me for not taping my tires, which I'll take the blame for.
What do you mean? You just taped them all orange?
No, I didn't tape them at all.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I just trusted where I was going to grab my tire.
Oh my God.
And I think I'd gotten into that habit because at ThorSport, we use Bassett wheels.
Oh, so you just grab
a spoke.
I get it. I got you.
So I think I'd just gotten in that
Fuck
habit.
them rims, by the way.
Oh yeah, the Bassets are terrible.
I got good at them, but
10-inch spoke.
Shit was hard to carry if you had small hands.
Yeah, so luckily we had a meeting. We skated through that whole deal. We blamed it. We kind of just wrote it off as we had a new tire guy. We had me not taping the wheels, so they just were like, whatever, let's just offset it. Fast forward to September that year, and I was sort of being recruited to go to Penske by a guy named Steve Price, who was like he had called me and said, hey, do you want to do one of the BKR trucks? We need a tire carrier. And so I'd gone over there for a practice. And anyway, it turned into this whole deal where they were like trying to get me to go over there. So I'd gone to Iowa to pit the 29 truck, and the Cup Series was in New Hampshire. And we had landed back in Statesville from doing the truck race at probably 1 a.m. And I had to be in Concord at 6 a.m. to catch a Roush Air flight to New Hampshire, which Roush Air is probably the scariest airplanes I've been on.
Miami Air, man.
Well, Miami Air was scarier, but when you watch Jack Roush walk into the cockpit, that's scary because that guy. He
was flying?
I don't know if he was flying or not, but this joke.
One-eyed Willie?
Dude, he's got a history of crashing airplanes, and they're letting this guy in the cockpit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and plus these airplanes were built by the Wright brothers. So, I mean, I don't know how old they were, but they got grounded because they were so old. And so anyway, I landed in Statesville 1 a.m. I have to go to I don't even think I went home. I think I just drove straight to Concord and tried to sleep in the truck a little bit. And so we fly out, we get to New Hampshire, and I'm exhausted. Like, I'm tired, man. Like, I've been up pretty much 24 hours, only had 3 hours of sleep. So we start the race, and my radio is dying the whole race.
Oh, I hate that.
I keep hearing this beeping in my ear. I have no idea what this beeping is. And I'm like, I was too tired to think about it. So my radio dies, and Jay Guy, the crew chief on the 34 car, had this thing about cleaning the grill. And as a front tire carrier, you're like, it's almost second nature. When you put the left side tire on, swipe that grill.
Yeah.
Like get the rubber off. But Jay had this thing. If the water temperature and oil temperatures were good, don't touch the grill, because he thought it was downforce on the nose.
Really?
Really weird.
So, just like adding tape, I guess.
Yeah. So apparently my radio had died, and he would tell me, we're going out to the right side, Devon, don't touch the grill. And, and I'd know, don't clean the grill. I didn't hear this because my radio had died. And so I cleaned the grill, and I hear him like stomping his feet on the box, and I look up, and then suddenly my radio kicks back in, and it's David Ragan cussing me out. Devon, get your head out of your ass. Listen to Jay. Like he was furious.
No shit.
That I cleaned this grill.
And we're at New Hampshire?
This was at New Hampshire.
Oh my God.
And we were running 25th or 30th. And I'm like, dude, was that going to make a big difference?
For real.
So, and that's when it finally clicked. I was like, something's wrong with my radio. But
Yeah.
then what was cool was David came into the shop that Monday and was like, "Hey, I didn't mean to yell at you." I was like, "I didn't really hear it till like the end of it." So I just caught the end of what you said.
Hey, I was told to ask you about you. I guess it's your dad about driving all the way to Road America.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, bud.
Man, we made that drive. So I get a phone call. This is probably about the middle of the week, from Nick Sutton, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to Road America and pit the 51 car for Clemens?" And I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." I was like, "When are we flying out?" He's like, "No, you're driving." And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit."
Tell everybody where Road America's at.
Wisconsin. That's an 18-hour drive. I think it's 18 hours. 14. It's up.
It's
there.
a long
It's
damn drive.
So we left we left in the afternoon. I remember because everybody had to get off work first, and we all typically when like back in the early days, everyone would just meet at Lowe's in Mooresville, right there where all the trailers are, and park, and then we would get in a rental van and leave. And so that's where we met, and it was in the afternoon, and we had this little Kia Optima. And I don't know why to this day I haven't bought one of those cars because that thing got hella gas mileage.
Really?
Yeah. So like our plan was like there were I think 5 of us in this little Kia Optima, and we were like every time we fill up, we'll switch drivers. And of course I was like, well, I'll take the first shift because that way I can sleep through the night. Dude, this thing got 800 miles on a tank. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, these guys were sleeping in the back. Anytime I would go down a hill, I'd throw it in neutral and I would just peg it, just trying to burn the gas off. I literally drove all night on the same tank of gas. I was like, dude, how are we not there?
That's fucking
so we
awesome.
get all the way to Road America. And I think we got to do one pit stop, and then Jeremy ended up breaking a gear, and we didn't have hotel rooms. Like they weren't going to get us hotel rooms.
What?
No, we drove all the way back that night.
Dude, I would have fucking pulled in the gas station while everybody seemed like I just filled up, man.
Yeah. Somebody would have picked up on that one. But I was so pissed
I wouldn't
off.
give
I
a
was like,
shit.
I'm going to buy one of these cars. It's got to be a hybrid. Like, there's no way this thing is getting this good a gas mileage.
That's crazy.
It was wild. But anyway, so on the way back, we're coming through Kentucky, and we run straight through a tornado. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We hit a damn tornado. And so we park under this bridge, and we're in the middle of Kentucky. No one's got cell service. We can't check the weather. So I'm like, I guess we're either going to get killed by this tornado and this bridge is going to fall on us, or we just wait it out. Damn. I don't know what's going to happen, but man, that was a damn long drive.
I can only imagine, buddy.
Yeah.
There's something I want to. I got a lot of military guys that watch this, and you interacted with guys on pit road that were in service.
Yeah.
What was your coolest experience with one?
With a military guy?
Yeah.
I don't know if I had any experiences with military guys. I do know that every year we went to the Coke 600, they made a big deal of the Memorial Day, and that was always really special because we had a front row seat literally to watch these guys do their demonstration on the infield of the track.
Pretty cool, ain't it?
Oh my gosh, dude, you get goosebumps.
Yeah,
especially like when they start playing taps. Like right before I'm telling you, dude, just
I can't deal with it.
The biggest goosebumps in the world because you have to be able to get to do to be fortunate enough to pit race cars for a living, and then I'm looking out and seeing these guys lined up that at 18 years old signed up and gave their life away.
Yeah,
for me to be able to stand on pit road, man, that was it's crazy.
That's the only thing that I always get a lump in my throat is taps, man.
Dude, it
every
gives me
time
goosebumps, like hearing it every time.
It's a crazy deal. Mm-hmm. I just been thinking about it. I'm like, because a lot of my buddies watch this, and every track we go to, there's military people either stand in front of pit lane so fans don't come in. I didn't know if you had a crazy interaction with one or got a coin from a guy or something.
No, nothing that I can specifically remember off the top of my head.
Because I didn't know if you had an experience like this. I got to walk with a general, or I think it was a general, me and another guy, and he ended up giving us coins. It was a Air Force general, and I told him I was in the military and this was my dream job, and he ended up giving me a coin, which is, I think it's on here, but I didn't know if you got a coin from anybody. I know several guys on pit crews have and coaches have. I didn't know if you had that experience or not.
No, the most famous military guy I got to meet was who was the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket?
Oh, Arlie Army.
Yeah, I got to meet him in Atlanta.
I had him in Talladega. Nice, cool dude.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he's passed away, man. It sucks. telling me about your Harvard incident.
Yeah. So 2016, I ended up pinning Harvick a lap down with a uncontrolled tire penalty that caused a caution because NASCAR, I don't know if you remember back in the day when I forget his name, but a gas man ran out on pit road to grab a tire.
Yeah.
And so NASCAR put a stop to that. So anytime there's a loose tire out in the infield,
I think it was at Atlanta.
It was Atlanta.
Yeah.
He just ran out there. Car's going full speed. He's grabbed this tire. I can't remember his name. He actually, Jimmy Watts.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
He ended up, I actually got to pit with him a couple times at Front Row.
He was at Stewart Haas for a while, too.
I think he was at Stewart Haas. But
yeah, good dude.
So 2016 Chicago race, first race of the chase, where we come down first pit stop. It's a green flag pit stop. And it was tire to the front. We had an adjustment. So I grabbed the tire under my right arm, pushed my left side tire. And I did this thing where I would cross my left tire in front of me and then hand off my right side tire. Well, my behind the wall support, I don't know. There were usually two guys, but I didn't see the second guy. And so I just dropped the tire, hoping that the one guy had them both, and he didn't. And it bounced off the wall and went right back out in the pit road. And I think Harvick was in the middle of a long green flag run, and he was getting ready to come in. I think he come down pit road right when they threw the caution, and it pinned him a lap down. And I think he spent the entire race trying to get that lap back. And I don't know, and I'm pretty sure that kind of screwed him over in the championship, because I don't know who he might have won it in 2016, but I can't remember. But
14.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that really messed him up in the championship, that one race. So
I'm sure it's hard to bounce back from that.
Sorry, Harvick.
No,
it was probably worth it. In my opinion, it was worth it.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal. We had a big meeting behind the pit box on that one because they were pretty upset about that one because that cost us a penalty because we got to do a pass through at that point.
Because uncontrolled tire.
Uncontrolled tire.
Yeah.
And so that one really, and I'm pretty sure we had a decent car that day because we had struggled all year that year.
Who was you pitting for?
Eric Almirola.
43 car. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
So it got both of you pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
But more him than y'all.
Yeah, it hurt Harvick because he was obviously running for a championship that year.
Yeah. Sometimes you get what you deserve.
Sometimes.
You know, fuck him.
Yeah.
That's just
not a fan.
Me either. So you had a bicep injury. What happened there?
That was early in 2016. So that was pretty gnarly and stupid because I was working out on my own time. Like I was getting paid to work out with the team. And over Easter break, I was like, I had a gym membership at our local gym right down the road. And I was bored on a Friday night. And me and my wife were like, let's go work out. So we went down to the gym. And I was just hitting the heavy bag, just, doing some cardio, whatever. And I'd done several dozen times before that. And I was hitting the bag, and all of a sudden I heard this tear. And I was like, and it felt like a Charlie horse. I was like, damn, that didn't feel right. And so I kept trying to go. I kept going. And I was like, something's going on here because my arm started tingling.
You actually heard it tear?
Oh, I heard it tear. Yeah.
Absolutely. No shit.
Yeah. It sounded like paper ripping. Like if you ever rip paper straight down the middle, that's what it sounded like.
Really?
Yeah. Usually people hear a pop, but this was a tear. And so I had a long sleeve shirt on, and I knew something, like my arm started tingling. And so I go to my wife and I'm like, you got to help me take my shirt off because something's going on with my arm.
So you couldn't bend it or nothing?
I could bend it, but it felt like you ever had just like a really bad Charlie horse. Like that's what it felt like if something was balled up in my arm. And she thought I was joking because I'm kind of a practical joker, and I'd pull jokes on her all the time. She thought I was joking because she knows how serious I was about there were things I wouldn't do around the house because I was afraid I was going to get hurt. Like I would climb ladders. I would do the stupid stuff that I was afraid that I would get hurt.
Yeah.
And so she thought I was joking. I was like, no, like you got to help me take my shirt off because something's going on. So she helps me pull my shirt off, and sure enough, I look at my arm and there's like a baseball at the top of my shoulder.
No shit.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not good. So I immediately sent a text message to our trainer, Angela Shirk. I don't know if you know who Angela is. She does a lot of the rehab and stuff for Roush Racing. And
oh, yeah. She got short hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really good at what she does. So I messaged her, and this is Easter weekend. And she messaged me back. She says, I'm in Ohio. I'll have to look at it Monday.
Wasn't she married to the guy on the 34 car?
On the 38 car.
38, yeah.
I think they ended up splitting up.
Yeah. Make sure. I'm trying to remember if that was the right woman. Yeah, I remember.
That's her. So anyway, she messages me back and she's like, I'm gone till Monday. I'll see you Monday. So I have to sit the whole weekend with this deformity in my arm.
You didn't go to a regular doctor or nothing?
No,
Damn.
no, because I don't know why I didn't. Like, I didn't think they would do anything. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, they're not gonna put if it does need surgery, they're not gonna put me in surgery or schedule an MRI then. So I sat there all weekend and I started Googling like torn bicep because I kind of had an idea what I had done. So I started Googling torn bicep and I see all these like really like crazy pictures of people that are black and blue all up and down the arm. And that wasn't happening to me yet. So I was like, okay, maybe I didn't tear my bicep. Maybe it's just a really gnarly pull.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in Monday. Angela gets there a lot earlier than she normally would just to check in with me. So I go up to the gym and she starts doing like the shoulder mobility stuff to make sure I didn't tear a rotator cuff or anything like that. And then she grabs me in the crease of my arm. And if you kind of flex your arm here and grab in the crease of your arm, that's the tendon I tore. And she does that test.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I don't feel your distal bicep tendon. I'm like, what does that mean? She said, it's not good. And I'm like, oh shit. And I had just signed a huge, huge contract with Petty's, like the biggest contract I'd ever signed in my career. So this was early too. This was April. So I'd only gone 6 races.
How big is huge?
Big. Like, I mean, it was 120 grand a year.
Yeah.
Contract. I mean, it was big.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't realize how much pit crew members actually make.
It was a big deal, and it was life changing for us at the time. And so she calls up Bill Heisel. I don't know if you
know Bill.
And he gets me right over. This is on a Monday, so he gets me in for an MRI on Tuesday. And
this is during the off season?
No, this is during the season. Like, we're literally supposed to go to Martinsville the next week. Like,
shit!
Like, they got guys. The guys are practicing right now, like while I'm getting MRIs done.
Damn.
And that hurts. Like, I don't know if you've ever been like had to sit out a race and you see a guy with your team. Like, that's hard to watch.
Sucks.
Like, yeah, it sucks because you want to be there with your team. And so I'm out getting MRIs and stuff. And usually MRIs take about a day or two, but Bill had my MRI results like fairly quick, within hours. And he tells me that he confirms that he's like, yeah, you tore your distal bicep tendon and you're gonna need surgery. And he schedules me for surgery that Thursday. So I tore my bicep on a Friday night. I was in surgery less than a week later.
How bad did that suck?
The surgery it was actually really easy because who he had scheduled the surgery with was Dr. Patrick Connor. And so I Googled Dr. Patrick's name. And he was, at the time, I don't know if he still is or not, but at the time he was the Carolina Panthers head physician.
Really?
So I knew, like, I felt right away, I was like, I'm in like the best hands.
Yeah.
Because this guy, obviously, if the Panthers trust him, I trust him.
They put you under?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they, and it's a pretty gnarly, they have videos of the surgery online. Basically what they do is they drill a hole straight through your radius bone. They pull the tendon back down with the bicep and they pull the tendon through that hole, and then they suture a button. And they let that button flip and they catch on the backside of your radius bone. And then they put an 8mm screw right back into the bone. And it's a 12-week recovery. So I was stuck at 90 degrees on my arm for probably the first 4 weeks. And then they put you in a brace that adjusts out 1 degree every week to stretch that tendon back out. Because as they pull it down, like everything's super tight. So you have to stretch everything back out. And that was the most miserable part of the rehab.
Really?
Yeah, because we would go in. Angela did all my rehab. She's amazing. I mean, like, she literally, to the day that I was supposed to come back, I was back. Like, I mean, she did all my rehab and was great.
Who filled in for you?
Josh Galloway.
Oh, Pig Matt.
Yeah, filled in for me. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a good carrier. And
he's fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah, but that was really tough because so in between that whole deal, they ended up firing Gary Smith from Petty's.
I remember.
And they hired this guy who was like he worked a lot with military guys.
Yeah, he was a fucking jabroni.
Yeah. And so they bring him in. And my first thought was, great, like, this guy doesn't know anything about pit stops. He doesn't know who I am. He's never seen me carry. All he knows is Josh carrying. So like for all I know, I'm out. Like that's so I went to Sammy Johns, and Sammy Johns looking back, it means about as much as anything, I guess. But he was like, your spot's yours when you come back. Like, he kind of like reassured me on that. But in racing, God only knows what that means.
Nothing.
Yeah. And so for the entire rehab process, I would go up on Tuesday morning and we would start out with mobility. So because when you turn your wrist, that flexes your bicep.
Yeah.
Because it turns your radius bone as well. So I had zero mobility. I couldn't do this at all. So she starts out like she would shake my hand and turn it. And you saw my pain. I mean, that hurt for her to do that. Like, I mean, like wanted to punch her in the face. Like she grabbed my hand and she just knew like that. She's like, we got to do this. So we did that for probably 3 or 4 weeks until I was able to get full range of mobility back.
Damn.
And then she let me start lifting weights with it. And she hands me a half pound dumbbell.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. It was crazy, dude. Like how much my arm had atrophied in just that amount of time, just from not using it. My arm was about as big as my wrist. Like there was zero muscle there at all.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it was so, I got pictures on my Instagram of
Wow.
the recovery process. So that was a pretty gnarly injury of all the injuries I've had. But to the day it was literally 12 weeks to the day I was back at the racetrack. But they ended up moving me to the 44 car instead of putting me back on the 43 to kind of initiate me back into
Brian Scott drove that. Yeah.
Which Brian was actually a very cool dude.
He is a very cool
super
dude.
nice guy. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And the crew chief on that deal, gosh, I wish I could remember his name. He was super. He actually crew chief for Larson when he drove the 42 car for a little bit. I can't remember the guy's name.
Big beard.
Yes.
Yeah, he was at Hendrick for a long time.
I cannot think.
I can't think of his name either, man.
But he was really cool about the whole deal. You know, when I came back, he was like, you know what, just take, you know, if we have bad pit stops because you're getting comfortable, he's like, it's cool. You know, just do what you got to do to get back.
Damn, I can't think of that dude's name. I remember he was
Chris something.
Yeah, he was at Hendrick for a while. Wow, man, great guy.
Yeah, but something ended up happening where I ended up getting back on the 43 about halfway through the season. It was probably, I don't know, it was probably right in August or something like that. I ended up getting back on the 43 because Josh had pulled his back.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up pulling him out. And then they ended up taking Donnie Wilson off the car because Josh was more of a rear carrier than he was a front carrier because he was just a bigger, taller guy. So they ended up putting Josh on the rears of the 44 and they ended up switching him. So I ended up back on the 43 somehow.
Yeah, I was at, he was at Michael Waltrip Racing with me.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
Yeah, I think he was over at Ganassi too, wasn't he, for a little bit?
He was. Yeah.
But yeah, he was a good dude. I enjoyed, you know, watching him carry.
Yeah.
But that was scary because, like I said, I had no idea if I was going to get, you know, and I would go talk to Coach Rob. I would be like, you know, like, is my spot mine when I come back? And he was like, well, we'll just, and he would literally tell me, he's like, we'll just see. You know, I need to see how you look. And I'm like, watch tape. Like, we have film. Just watch the film. Like, that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
You know, but that 43 bunch was a good group of guys. There were a lot of times that I wanted to choke Greg Donlin out.
Who was your freaking jack man?
Well, it changed back and forth, which actually I need to go back to the injury thing. But so I actually started out with Wes Evans as my jack man.
Great guy.
He's a super good dude. And then they ended up moving west to the 44 and putting Gabe Martin on the 43.
How was Gabe?
Gabe's a character. He's a good jack man, but he walks kind of like pigeon toe, like kind of like he's toed out.
It's weird.
But he was a funny guy. He's a
drinker too, ain't he?
He's a little heavy drinker.
Yeah, him and Donlin.
Yeah. But Donlin, I don't know how that dude has made it through his entire career without getting punched in the face.
I don't either.
Great guy. I love him to death, but
yeah.
I enjoyed caring for him. But there were times when I'm like, dude, I'm going to kill you if you don't shut up.
Yeah, he fishes a lot too.
Yeah, he's a big avid fisherman. I think he's at Penske now.
I don't know.
I think
him and Francos are real good buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how I met him. Actually on the lake. He was fishing and we passed by.
Yeah. So back to the injury thing. So the second week that I got, I think it was the week after I come back from surgery, I was out there, or I was up in the gym with the guys just hanging out, bullshitting. And Wes comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, come see me in my office after we get done working out. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, whatever. So I go into his office and he worked in the marketing department. And he's probably going to be pissed if he hears me telling the story. And he goes, do you want to come back in 6 weeks instead of 12? And I'm like, yeah, what you got, man? And he's like, and I'm thinking he's got like this workout regimen that he's going to give, because this guy was a freak.
Beast.
He was a freak athlete. Played at Arizona State. So I'm thinking
he's a freak.
I'm thinking he's got some tips of the trade or some tricks of the trade. And he's like, hey, you ever hear of HGH? And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of it. You know, that's what all the baseball players get busted for. And he was like, I can get my hands on some. And he was like, if you take this stuff, he's like, it cuts your healing time in half. I'm like, dude, how much is it? And he's like, I'll give you the shots and everything. He's like, I took it when I was at Arizona State.
No
And
shit.
he was like, dude, and he was like telling me all the, he was like, dude, this, I was like, what are the side effects? He was like, I don't know, the best sleep you've ever had. He's like, your body not hurting anymore. He's like, what else you want to know? So I give this guy $500 cash. He's like, I'll get it in a couple weeks. And like 5 weeks go by and I go up there. I'm like, hey man, is that stuff ever going to come in? And he's like, man, my buddy's flaking out on me. Apparently he was getting it from a buddy in Canada, and his buddy was flaking out about shipping it, over the border, something about going through customs. So he didn't want to do that. So Evan ended up giving Wes ended up giving me my money back.
Wow.
Well, and no, I wasn't even thinking either at the time. I was like, either way, the doctor wouldn't have cleared me. Even
Not with that in your fucking system.
I was like, well, not only that, like 12 weeks was 12 weeks to the doctor. He didn't give a shit if I was healed up.
Well, he's gonna be like, how the fuck did you come back so quick?
Right.
So.
I wasn't even thinking, but I'd have been yoked up at the time.
Yeah, you've been yoked for sure. So let's switch forward to where you got to RCR, your favorite place to be.
Oh boy.
Yeah, mine too. Let's start out with a RCR luncheon meeting. How did that go?
So early in the season, we started RCR was running really bad. Like they didn't have anything like put together at all with their cars. Like they were using Xfinity chassis for the Cup cars and Cup chassis for them. I mean, they had it all backward. It was just, somebody put it in perspective from like the way they said it was like when I walked in here, it was like walking into the prehistoric race age. Like they just were so behind with technology. So they ended up hiring a bunch of different guys. Like they ended up hiring Sammy Johns there, who I worked with at Petty's, and they ended up having this guy named Doc Warren,
I've heard him,
who was supposed to be like this big chassis guru at Evernham's back in the day and develop this huge front end. So anyway, he was there trying to develop this front end. So we had these meetings every day, right at 11:25 at lunch, right when everybody's trying to go to lunch. I was like, let's have a shop meeting.
Let's have a random meeting.
Yeah, and then expect everybody to be back at 12:30. Like just cutting to our lunchtime. So we had these meetings, and they were sort of like an open floor kind of. At this point, we're shooting in the dark. Like, just tell us anything that'll make these cars better. Like, I'm not an engineer. What the hell are you asking me? You figure it out.
Yeah. What were you there then?
I worked in the gear room. So
really?
I did gears and
so what the fuck did you have to be there for?
Yeah, exactly. But what was funny was they actually ended up switching me and a guy named Curtis Thompson. So Curtis Thompson was a changer and he was a gear builder at Roush for a long time.
Yeah.
And they actually ended up confusing Curtis with me. And I was supposed to go to the finish fab. Well, and Kurt was supposed to go to the gear room. Well, they ended up putting me in the gear room for some reason, and I ended up liking it. They were like, "Do you want to go to finish fab?" I'm like, "Hell no! I like building gears."
Yeah.
So anyway, back to this meeting. They opened it up. They opened the thing up to like questions or comments. They're like, "Does anybody got anything? Just give us an idea." And Austin's interior guy raises his hand. He goes, "Yeah, when we're pushing the cars around the garage, they turn better right than they do left. And if you know anything about race cars, they're supposed to turn left."
Yeah.
And Doc Warren's face, he just kind of paused for a moment, and he was like, "Noted." So I don't know what they did to fix that, but apparently the cars pushed better right than they did left.
Jesus.
I mean, I don't know if that was your issue now, but I mean, the fact that you're going to the guys in the shop fishing for ideas, that told me right there like how bad off they were.
That's why you got engineers.
Yeah. And I don't know, because I've been out of the sport for a while now. I don't know, like, you just see and hear rumors from guys that you talk to in passing, and a lot of the rumors are that the reason they're going to this new car is RCR pushed hard for this new next gen car.
Really?
And they were a big reason that we went to the 5-man pit stop stuff. They were trying to level the playing field as much as they could to bring everybody down to their level from and how true any of those rumors are, you don't know, because, you talk to guys in passing, but RCR, man, was hands down one of the worst career decisions that I had ever made, besides not going to Ganassi after I left Penske.
Mine too.
I mean, it was, I still, and I hate to try, I hate looking back and having regrets, because I don't have any regrets on anything that I've ever done. But one of the biggest regrets that I had was going up there to RCR the day. And I remember walking in to try out, and you were coming out of practice or something. You looked like you'd seen a ghost. You were like, "What the fuck are you doing here?
Yep.
You need to leave." And I was like, "Man, I need a job. Like, Petty's isn't going to keep paying me what they're paying me because there were rumors that Petty's was going to
go under
because Eric wasn't happy and Smithfield wasn't happy, so they were going to shut that deal down. So I knew I had to get out of there. And I remember you telling me, like, you don't want to be here. And I was like, I need a job.
Was I lying to you?
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. And that literally the day that I got laid off, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, fucking Alan, I should have listened to him. But
I never lied to you, bud.
Yeah, no, but.
And that's the thing about racing, man, that they hate people that are honest.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking swear they do.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't get along with a lot of people, because I'm going to tell you the way I feel. I'm going to tell you the way it should be. Yeah. And it rubs a lot of people the fucking wrong way.
Yeah, well, they want corporate puppets. I mean, they want people that they can push them. And I remember we had a meeting at RCR with the RC himself. He'd come down to the pit stop area. This was when all the flag kneeling stuff was going down. And and not to get political, think what you want on that. You do what you want. But RC had come down and he literally told us, he said, if any one of my guys kneels during the national anthem, I'll fucking fire you.
Good.
And I agree with you. I'm with you 100%. But I'm thinking in my head too, like, who does this guy think he is to just tell people what they can and can't do?
Well, my thing is on kneeling on the flag is I fucking can't stand it.
I'm with you.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it a million times. It's easy to kneel for something you ain't never fought for.
Yeah.
And I will leave it at that. But all that shit bugs the fuck out of me.
But yeah, I mean, but going back to the whole honest people thing, and I think that that was where a lot of, when I was at Penske, I was kind of, I don't want to say uncoachable, but I had this, I had a, where I would speak my mind.
Let me tell you something. The reason why RC said that, and I'll never forget, because I've been in his personal office, and this is no bullshit, dude. Mm-hmm. He's a huge military supporter.
Right.
And so that sword over there, I'll show you up close after the podcast, was in Saddam's fucking palace. Mm-hmm. So I showed it to him. Ray Wright set it up. And I'm in his fucking office, which is huge. I mean, beautiful office. Yeah. And he's thumbing through his iPhone just like this. Dude, he was in Iraq the same time I was. So he's a huge military supporter. He was on convoys with soldiers.
Right.
So that's why he's a big military supporter. So that's why, and the Second Amendment, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's a big gun guy, all that shit. So that's why that come out from him. You know what I mean? So,
and it totally makes sense. I mean, it's his company. He wants his brand. But for me, what I took from it, like, I don't know, it just something about telling a group of people what they can and can't do bugs me. Yeah. I don't know, and I get it's his company.
Could you imagine though?
Oh, the backlash. Oh shit. Like it would have been, terrible, especially for him being an NRA member and all this. Oh, it would have been huge. I get it. Totally.
Or if he wouldn't have said something and then you had some guys doing that shit,
Oh yeah. So. But no, I had the RCR deal, man. That was a miserable experience for me, and it really ruined. I don't want to say my experience in racing because I had a great experience.
Yeah,
but it ruined it for me.
Like me too.
When I got laid off, and that was the, I had been jerked around so much there that I was told when I got pulled off the 27 car, which was a total bullshit. They were like, we're going to put, just work. We're going to drop you down, work on what you need to work on. We'll put you back on the car. And so I remember I took that personally. Like I was like, you're not going to, like, I had never been pulled off a car up to that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like, let's see. And so I had gotten on like this really strict diet. I was in the gym every morning at 4:30, and then I would work out again at 10 o'clock with the 62 guys. And I remember one of the realest guys that I've had a chance to talk to in this sport was Jeff Cordero.
Yeah.
And I appreciate him being this honest with me because he worked in the Xfinity shop, and he would come down to the gear room to get the gears for the Xfinity.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And he, while we were loading up gears, he asked me, he's like, dude, why are you killing yourself? I'm like, I'm trying to get my damn spot back. And he was like, you're not getting it back, bud.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you. I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, when they make a decision here, it's final.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that just, that killed me.
Yeah.
This knocked the wind out of my sails. I had just been working. I had lost 15 pounds. best shape of my life. I mean, I was working hard.
Yeah.
Just to hear that, man, that knocked the wind out of my sails. And then I got very bitter. Like, I mean, I didn't give a shit at that point. Like, I mean, I was showing up to planes late.
Really?
I didn't care. I mean, at that point, I wanted them to fire me. I was fucking miserable.
It was a miserable place to be.
Yeah. And then, so later in the year, we go to New Hampshire and we're pitting the Xfinity. And I told Ray straight up when he pulled me off the car, I was like, I'm not backing up for you. He was like, you're not going to back up? I'm like, no, I'm not anybody's backup. I'm a fucking starter. Like, you pulled me off the car for a horseshit reason. I was like, I'm not going to go run fuel for anybody. Like, that's not going to happen. And so I wasn't backing up at all year. And we go to New Hampshire and I think it was Matt Donnelly. His kid broke his arm while we were at the Xfinity race pitting that day. And so Matt had to fly home. And I didn't know there was no one else there that was going to carry on the 3-car the next day. So I text Ray. I'm like, hey, do you need me to stay? You know, because everyone else, like at RCR, you did double duty. Everyone else was going to pit a cup car the next day. So there was no one available at the track to pit that car for Matt while he went home to tend for his kid. So I text Ray. I'm like, hey, do you need me to stay? And I get back, no, bro. And I'm like, all right, get on the plane. I'm going home. So I get on the plane, get home to North Carolina. As soon as I land, my phone is blowing up. Text messages, voicemails, phone calls. It's Ray. He's like, hey, man, I need you to come back in the morning. I'm like, I was literally just in New Hampshire. I asked you. Like, what the hell? So I'm like, all right, I'll be there. And my wife had we'd already made plans for Sunday. You know, like we were going to have a day of it. You know, we were just going to hang out. And so I get home, tell her, like, I gotta go back to New Hampshire. So I'm on a flight the next morning back up to New Hampshire and and come to find out, I guess the story was that Terry Spalding, the front changer on the 3-car, wanted Special Craig to carry for him instead of me. And then the rest of the 3 guys vetoed that because they were actually a really good pit crew that year. Like they were pretty strong. So they wanted to kind of keep their streak going of like, because back then, I don't know if they still do it now, but they had these numbers called dartfish for people listening that don't understand. And that's where NASCAR has this digital timing system, and they rank you on pit road based on where your pit stop times were. And so they were like top 5 dartfish. They wanted to keep that going. And I guess the rest of the 3 guys didn't think Greg was capable of, could step in and you know, make that happen. So they ended up bringing me back up, and I crushed it. We had a badass day on pit road that day. And I remember getting on the plane, and Ray's like, hey, man, sit down. So I sit down next to him, and he goes, you hit a home run today, brother. I'm like, appreciate it. Thank you. He's like, that's what we hired you for. And I was like, no, you hired me to pit the 27 car. You got me on the 62. He's like, we'll talk about it Monday. I said, okay. So I went back and sat down. Monday comes around. We don't even watch film. They shake everything up. Like, they switch all the pit crews up except for the 3-car. And they got 27 guys on the 13 guys.
I remember that.
I mean, they switched a lot of guys up. And so they pulled me up to the office with I can't remember the other coach's name. What was his name?
Tall one.
Eric. Was it Eric something?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's him and Ray in the upstairs office in the gym that we never used. I don't know why. That gym just sat there and collected dust. I don't know what the hell the deal was with that.
Well, we used it when I first got there, and then we went down to where the pit practice area was.
Yeah. I mean, the shop guys used it, but I mean, it was a nice gym.
Real nice.
But so it's him and what's his nuts there that the other coach was. I can't remember his name. And Ray is like, hey, I got a meeting to go to. He'll tell you what's going on. And I'm like, you're never involved. Like, what do you do here? Like, you're never involved with anything. And so he tells me, he's like, hey, man, you did a good job Sunday. We're going to put you back on a cup car. We're going to put you on a 13 car. I'm like, all right, why not the 27? That's what I got a fire suit there. Why don't you put me back with my guys? Well, we're switching some of them up too. We're switching to 13. And he hands me a number for the apparel lady at Germain. He's like, she's going to get you a fire suit, everything. So I go home that night. I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, they put me back on a cup car. You know, everything's cool. I get a phone call that night from our gas man that was on the 62 car. They moved him up to the 13 with me. He's like, hey, that all that swapping's not going to happen. RC shut it down because Ty didn't want his pit crew getting broke up.
I remember that.
So I go into the shop Monday. I already know what's coming. You know, they're going to tell me, hey, we're not making the moves. You're still in the 62. and which actually wasn't a bad deal to be on.
That was a good deal.
That was a good deal to be on. It was fun.
Was fun. Brendan's awesome.
He's a great guy. He's the only driver I know that would actually fight somebody for his crew guys.
Yeah.
Any other driver wouldn't.
Dude, when I was on the 3, they wouldn't even let my wife in the hauler.
Mm.
When I get on the 62, they tell my wife, why is she standing outside? I'm like, well, because when I was on the 3, they wouldn't let her in the hauler. And he's like, get your ass up here. She's like, she's a part of this crew. It was really cool. Brendan's awesome.
Yeah, super awesome guy. Yeah. So anyway, I get a phone call. I'm up in the shop. Like I get a phone call from Ray. He's literally down at the pit stop area. And he's telling, and I'd already made it. At this point, I'm so beyond frustrated with this place that I'm ready to just start swinging on whoever. Like I didn't care. Like I was like, please just fire me. I wanted out of that contract. And Ray calls me and he's like, hey man, we're not gonna make that move. I'm like, I know already. He was like, you do? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, we're not gonna let you out of your contract. It's like he was reading my mind.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we're not gonna let you out of your contract. I'm like, why not? Why are you guys doing this to me? He's like, we'll talk. Everything's always, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Well, I'm right here right now. Let's talk.
But we never talked about it. So I go the rest of the year. I mean, I'm pissed off. So he keeps pulling me back in and out of these freaking meetings, dude. I swear to God, I sat down with a guy probably 4 or 5 times. And he's like, there was rumor that the 43 was coming to RCR, which it did eventually end up going on the campus. But he tells me, we're going to have this many Xfinity cars. You're going to do Xfinity full time next year. We'll keep your pay the same. I'm like, all right, as long as I got a job, because at this point I was in limbo. I was in limbo. I was like, if I got a job, then whatever, because I wasn't really networking at this point. I was almost, I think, ready to be done with racing.
Yeah.
And so pulls me back in. Man, we don't know if we're going to have that many Xfinity cars. You might want to start looking. Son of a bitch. So I start networking again. I start networking with the Roush coach. They had just hired a new coach.
Brad.
No, it wasn't Brad. Another guy.
Tall guy?
Mm-hmm. Tall, skinny guy.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about. Me and him talked too.
Yeah, so he get pulled back in another meeting with Ray. Hey, man, we think we might put you on 31 next year. Okay. What the hell? We'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. So I quit networking again. Another meeting comes around. Hey, we might be getting the 43. You might go on that car. I'm like, damn, would you guys make up your minds? Like, what is going on here? Finally, October, about a week before my birthday rolls around, and I go to film, I go to practice, I'll work out. I see Ray the entire time. Like he's down there at practice with us.
Avoiding
me. Won't talk to me. I go up to the shop because I worked in the shop full time. And my shop boss comes up to me. He's like, hey man, has anybody talked to you today? I'm like, no, nobody's talked to me. And this was the weird part, was it was almost like everyone was avoiding me. It was almost like people knew.
But you didn't.
But I didn't. It was like everyone knew. And I was like, no, nobody's talked to me. And he was like, they're going to lay you off at 3:00 today. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, I was like, I was just down there at practice. Nobody said anything. He's like, yeah, they're getting like 100 of us today. Like they were going to fire another kid that worked in the gear room with me. Like they were just going to lay everybody.
Really?
Yeah, because Paul was taking his money to the Wood Brothers.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they were losing a car. And I was like, at this point, man, my face is red. I'm angry. Because I had been jerked around so much at that damn company that, I had told my wife, yeah, we're good for next year. We're not good for next year. We're not. And I'm like, dude, I was like, they wasted a year of my career.
Yeah.
At that place. Wasted it, and I felt like at 27, I was 27 at the time. I was in my prime. Like I was hanging good tires. Everything was good at RCR performance wise. And sure enough, 3:00 rolls around. They pull me into the office. Say, hey, and I'm thinking for like, there was like a little sliver of hope in me, hoping that they were just going to lay me off from my shop job and let me keep pitting.
Yeah. And
so Sammy Johns, ironically enough, was the one that laid me off in a room with like 25 other people. They give me a packet. Luckily, they ended up giving me a severance package for like a month and a half or 2 months or whatever it was.
Till December.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so they ended up paying me out for the rest of my contract. But I asked Sammy, I was like, so am I laid off from my shop job or both? He was like, yeah, both. And I was like, all right, cool. So I left. And at this point, it's past 4:00. So everybody's gone for the day. But I walk out and I see Ray's car, his black truck down there at the pit stop area. So I'm like, I'm gonna go fucking talk to this guy. So I walk in there, and he's got all of his fucking cronies kicked back on his couch playing Xbox. You know, I'm like, you guys got to go. I was like, Ray, I need to talk to you. And Ray's like, everybody clear out, Ray, clear out. So I sit down and I hold up the packet. And I'm like, what is this? And he was like, man, he's like, they came to me this morning. I had no idea this was gonna happen. I'm like, dude, you can't tell a lie. Like I literally could smell the lie coming off of you right now. I was like, dude, you told me so many times that I'm good. Like, what is going on here? And he was like, bro, everything is bro. And finally he was like, what do you want me to do? Who do you want me to call? Who do you want me to call? I said, Ray, you've done enough, dude. You don't make any phone calls on my behalf. Please, God, don't make any phone calls.
No shit.
And I stood up to walk out, and I shit you not, as I walked out, he goes, stay in touch. And I said, fuck you. And then as I walked out, RC comes walking in. And I was like, oh, this is convenient.
Yeah.
And RC was like, how you doing? And I just kept walking.
Really?
That was it.
Damn. It's badass.
Yeah. I laid awake a lot of nights. I was like, because they left the pit stop area unlocked. I was like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna fuck everything up in that place. I was so mad, dude. That was the most bitter I had ever been in my career. I lost sleep over it. I mean, like the way it was just, it felt conspiratory to me. Like the way that I got pulled off the 27. I mean,
The way they make it happen.
yeah, it was so weird because like the 27, dude, we started out the year on fire. I mean, we were top 10 dartfish. I mean, we were a good crew. And then little things started happening slowly. Like my hose kept getting pulled under the splitter, and that got blamed on me. Like, I'm not even touching the damn hose. I dropped the hose in front of the car when I go on the right side.
And then they pull the slack out.
Yeah. And so that started happening. Like Franco's would come around and it would get stuck on the splitter. And then all of a sudden, the way I carried tires was like, I come from the wall on the left side.
Yeah,
like
I hate that.
Yeah, it's just how I did it. So my tire kept getting knocked off in the pit road. And I was like, and it happened 4 times within like 5 weeks. I was like, what? And I finally blew up on the car chief at Bristol because we were smoking it on pit road one day at Bristol. And I think it was like the 4th stop in. I come around and I'm like looking and I see my tire bouncing off into the pit road. I'm like, and so after I picked the damn tire up, I'm thinking all the lug nuts have fallen off. I hang the tire and I just spin around and I see the car chief. Like he knows I'm about to lay into his ass. And I'm like, dude,
what was he doing?
I don't know.
He must have been getting in the pit stop and hitting it with his.
Yeah, I think it was his stomach or something. A lot of the RCR guys took the tire from the ground, so
that's why I'd always done it.
I think that might have been throwing him off with it being on the wall, but that's just how I carried tires.
That way you close that gap.
Yeah, and so I don't know what. Like, I looked at him. I was like, is this your first time at the racetrack? Like, do you have any clue what you guys are doing? Like, you guys have no clue what you're fucking doing. Like, in 7 years of carrying tires, I've never had this many issues with behind the wall support.
I never had that happen to me.
Dude, it happened to me 4 times.
That's crazy.
That my tire just got knocked off the wall. So finally, I started practicing from the ground, and so for the rest of the year on the 62, that's how I did it. I took it from the ground.
You like it?
Yeah, it was a lot better, a lot faster.
Yeah,
it was a lot better.
The only problem I had was somebody had my tire facing the opposite way, but it's an easy fix.
Yeah, just swing it around.
But now you got to find your tape. You know what I mean? Because I always taped it up the rim. I didn't go all the way over the tire. And I just thought, but I started doing it because.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I literally, dude, I felt like, I mean, there were, because I'm kind of a conspiracy guy, man. And I swear I would go home and I would just think, I'm like, are they doing this to get me off this car? Because it was really weird when they pulled me off the 27, the guy that took over had a fire suit the next week. It was fucking weird, dude.
Who took your spot?
Justin Boss.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, he only runs Austin's social media stuff. So it doesn't, Yeah,
that's kind of funny.
It makes sense. But it just felt weird to me. I was like,
he's still over there.
Yeah. And so I think, the final straw was when they actually ended up pulling me off the car was Richmond. Paul was complaining about the brakes chattering, which usually means the brakes are too cold. So you want to add brake tape. And the caution that come out that we were going to do this adjustment was the 83 car blew up and was laying oil all over the track. And must have run through that oil because when we came in to do the pit, we used carpet tape. on our grill tape.
Oh,
Which
shit.
was sticky as shit.
Yeah.
I could not get this tape to stick because there was so much
Oil on the front.
and couldn't get I tried to do the left side first, couldn't get it. So I go around, hang my right side tire, come back around, hang my left side tire, and I try to get the right side. And I'm like, they'll have to get what they can get on, I'll get it in the next stop. And I couldn't get it either. Like neither side would stick. And I turn around and there was the crew chief. He was already off the box, standing behind the wall. And he grabs me up and he was like, what happened? I was like, there's oil on the nose. I can't get the tape to stick.
Who's your crew chief?
Matt Borland, which is that dude is a hothead. Nicest guy in the world. I mean, that dude actually went to bat for me when I got pulled off the car. Like,
really?
Yeah, he actually did. But he was upset that I didn't get that tape. And I told him, I was like, dude, there's oil on the nose. I can't get it to stick. We have to brake clean it off. Like, I don't know what to do. And he just turned around and walked off. And Ray actually mentioned in the meeting where he pulled me off the 27 he was like, well, you struggled getting tape on the nose. I'm like,
what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I'm like, Ray, there's oil on the nose. What the hell am I supposed to do here? So, I mean, that whole experience, dude,
that's fucking wild.
It was, it ruined it for me. And so I had an opportunity to go to Roush. And I told myself early in my career that if I had to go to Roush Racing, I would quit.
Yeah.
And because there were so many horror stories of people. And apparently they were really working hard to try and change a lot of stuff around there. And especially in the pit department, they had hired a bunch of people.
Yeah, Big Brad was changing a lot of stuff when he got there.
Yeah, and I like Brad.
Me too.
I had thought about it. They were going to put me on a truck deal, one of the house Xfinity cars there, and then I think maybe the 32 car or something like that. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I had literally gone through this journey from 2009 to get to where I am here, pitting all these really just back marker cars to get on house cars. You know, there's no way I'm going to take a step back and pit this 32 car.
Yeah.
And the money was good. I mean, they offered great money, but I was like, I'm done. I'm just not going to do this. I'm not going to do and I'm glad I did, because the Xfinity car, I think they were going to put me on, shut down in a year. And I looked ahead at that one actually, because I saw who was driving that damn car, and it was 3 drivers. They were splitting. It was Austin Terrio, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe. And I'm like, well, Briscoe's a Stewart Haas driver. Austin's a Penske driver. This deal ain't lasting.
Yeah. So, did you talk about the Brendan Gaughan story?
Oh yeah. So,
yeah, let's get into this.
So we get to the racetrack. I can't remember what track it was, but the Xfinity cars always qualified right before the race. And this was when they were going through their whole special front end clip that Doc Warren was working on. And Brandon comes into the hauler. This is the first time I'd ever seen him not in a good mood.
Yeah, which is never.
Yeah. And so we're putting our bags in the hauler. We had literally just got there, and he comes walking to the hauler, and we're like, what's up, Brandon? And he just stops and he goes, if any one of you guys walks up to Doc Warren right now and punches him in the face, you'll have a job at the South Point Casino for the rest of your life, making what you're making now.
Why didn't you go fucking knock this dude out?
I texted my wife. I was like, what do you think about Vegas? And she was like, are there beaches in Vegas? I said, I don't think so.
We'll fucking drive until you find one. There's one in California.
But he literally said that. He's like, you'll have a job for the rest of your life if you go out there and punch him in the face right now.
No shit.
And he walked away. He was dead serious.
Oh yeah, Brendan would have paid up.
I was like, literally just text my wife and said, look, what do you think about Vegas? I would go. It's warm, you know.
Yeah, I got a buddy that lives out there, man.
A lot of stuff to do.
Yes, there is. A lot of stuff getting you in trouble, but
yeah,
it's a cool place.
Yeah.
So when did you go to Penske after RCR?
No, Penske was way before RCR.
How did we miss Penske?
Penske was pretty uneventful.
Really?
Penske was a good time. I love that place, man.
Really?
I had a good time with the guys.
Why'd you leave? Money?
It was money and mutual. It was a mutual sort of
separation.
They had this young kid coming up, Jesse Mills, who was Jesse's a great guy.
Yeah, I know Jesse.
Really good carrier too. And I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say I didn't have my struggles at Penske. You know, I had consistency issues. But in my defense, they put me through the ringer with changers. I mean, I had gone through 3 or 4 different changers and I could never get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
The one changer that I got that I was really comfortable with, that I wish they would have kept me with was Hunter Masling,
Mm,
who is hands down probably one of the best changers I've ever worked with.
really?
He just had the speed, the consistency. I mean, he's good.
He's still there, ain't he?
No, he's over at
Gibbs?
Gibbs now on the 19, I think.
Okay.
So, I mean, just all around, just one of the best changers that I've had a chance to work with. And so, but I could have been, I could have been a lot more coachable at Penske. I was a 24, 25-year-old little shithead that, I was making decent money.
Yeah.
I was winning races with this car.
On a 22 Xfinity?
22 Xfinity. And I also did my first year there, I did the 95 Cup car with McDowell. And then the second year they had me on the 21 with Blaney. And that was a good deal. You about some cool people. The Wood brothers are good people, man. Like they're awesome. And so I'd gone through 2014 and 2015 with Penske, and that was I had hands down one of the best coaches, and Brian Holland, man.
Yeah.
He's the dude is just a freaking coach, man. He just I literally I wasted it. I mean,
he changed for a long time too.
Yeah, he did. And I think that's what made him such a good coach was he understood the fun. Like, dude, every practice, we didn't just, like a lot of pit stop practices that you do, you just jump right into doing stops.
Yeah.
With this guy, it was like we would do fundamentals every day. And it was like, it was almost frustrating doing that many fundamentals every day. Like, I mean, he would have the changers, like the car stop, one lug nut.
Really?
Back it up, car stop, one lug nut. I mean, he was good at breaking down the basics of a stop and making us better. And I credit him a lot to getting me to that next level, but I just wasn't coachable enough to be great there, And I struggled with my changer who they ended up putting me with. I finally got with a changer for a long term, and it was Ryan Flores. And Flores is a great changer, but sometimes a combination just doesn't work out.
Sit too close.
Yeah, and he sits a little wider with his legs, or he did then. I don't know how he is now, but for a step carrier like I was a left step carrier. I set up on my right foot. So when my right foot is shifted because his knees are wide,
throws you off.
It throws you off.
Yeah.
But when Jesse carried for him was a lot better.
He's a swinger, ain't he?
He's a swing carrier. And so they set up with their left foot, which puts him a little bit closer to the car. So anyway, it's not Ryan's fault. It wasn't my fault. It was just a combination that just didn't work out. And I remember when they announced the 21 was going full time, I was in my option on my contract, which means that the team had picked it up for the second year and it was coming to an end. And Trent had pulled me into the office and he said, Gary Smith needs a tire carrier over at Petty's. And he said, we're really high on Jesse right now. But we love you. He's like, we'd love to keep you. He's like, but it's going to come down between you and Jesse. And he's like, we're high on Jesse. And I'm like, okay. And in the meeting, I told him, I said, let's do this. Pull me off the 21. Let me pit the 9. Because that's the car that Gary wanted me to pit.
Who was driving the 9?
Hornish. Sam Hornish Jr.
At Penske?
No, at Petty's. So I was gonna. I was gonna finish out my contract at Penske and just transition over to Petty's after it was done. But I was gonna get an early jump and just pit the 9. But that was a conflict of interest in Penske's eyes of pitting Petty with another Ford team. But anyway, so I told Trent, I was like, let me finish out the year with the 22 guys, the Xfinity guys, because we're about to win the second championship, and we've won 7 races. Like I want to finish out with my guys, and then I'll move on. This will be amicable. Let's just finish it out. And we shook hands. He said, all right, let's do it. And so they pulled me off. I pulled myself off the 21 car and they let
the
21 Cup car and let Jesse finish out the year on that deal. And it ended up where Penske shot down that idea and they just told me to go ahead and move on and just transition over to Petty's with 5 races to go in 2015. So
damn.
Yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Penske. I mean, it had a feeling, there were a lot of times where, they didn't pay as well as other teams because it felt like it was an honor to be at Penske. Like that was your payment. Like you get to wear the Team Penske badge. And, to a certain extent that's nice and everything, and they hold on to guys there. Like they don't really, they don't shift a lot of guys around. I mean, they've shifted cars, but most of those guys are the OG guys that have been there.
Yeah. for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Like, well, actually, I think just recently a lot of the Penske guys went over to
Gibbs.
with Brian, because I think Brian's the coach over there now.
The Ogle brothers were there together for a while.
On the 2 car. I think they were the first brother combo to win a race together.
No shit.
Yeah, because they won a couple of races together over there on that deal.
Good dudes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've got nice things to say about Penske. I loved it. I had a great time there, but I am a little bit bitter that I didn't get a ring for the championship that they won on the owners championship.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was every bit a part of that as
anybody
else. Cause we won 7 races together and there were 5 races left, you know?
Damn, they made you leave with 5 to go.
They wouldn't let me finish it out.
Damn, that sucks.
All
man.
because they didn't want me pitting a cup car. They didn't want me practicing over there with the petty guys on the cup car and then practicing at Xfinity. Which
maybe sharing information.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue would have been. It's not like, Petty's was light years behind Penske. That was when Penske was lighting the world on fire.
Well, you might give them some edge on what they're doing.
Yeah, there wasn't nothing.
That's that's how they're looking at it.
But so yeah, and then like one of the biggest mistakes that I made that I kick my own ass for this every single day was when I was in between the 2015 and 2016 season. I was talking with Petty's contracts and I was talking with Ganassi and Sean Pete. In my opinion, people, I don't know what your opinion is on him, but Sean to me was one of the most genuine guys that I got to sit down and talk with.
I only talked to Sean one time.
Yeah.
I've seen him several times while I was at
Waltrips probably.
No, he was already at Ganassi's by the time I got to Waltrips, but he was at Red Bull while I was at Red Horse Racing.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, he brought me over to Ganassi. I did the 42 Xfinity car for him a few times in 2015, like the end of 2015.
Yeah.
While I was pitting the 9 car for Petty's. And that whole time, he was, I felt like the most professional athlete because he brought me in, he walked me around the entire shop and introduced me to every head of department in the building. He took me up to his office. I sat down with him and Mike Metcalf.
Good dude.
Good dudes.
He taught me how to carry tires.
Yeah. Just all around great guys. And they put down 2 contracts. Sean said, here's a starting contract. Here's a backup contract. He's like, I want you to come in and I want you to work for this starting contract for this 42 car. Because they were having some issues with the front carrier on that deal. Apparently there was a big argument between he and the Jackman. And so they were going to fire him.
Really?
Yeah, Aaron Shields.
Oh, I know Aaron. Yeah, he was at Red Bull with him.
Yeah, and so there was some issues that they were looking to make a change, and so, but he didn't want to come right out and say, "Yeah, the 42 car is yours." That's what and looking back, man, I know that I could have gone over there and earned that spot, but at the time in my head, I couldn't justify signing 2 contracts with 2 totally different amounts of money.
One was backup was at like 90 grand.
One was 90, one was I think 60.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. 30 grand is a big difference.
Yeah.
So
they all do them like that. Yeah. It's crazy.
So I go back to Gary Smith and I haven't had any contract talks with Petty's yet. And I go to Gary and I said, "Hey, Ganassi just threw me a contract, 2 contracts." I didn't tell him about the second. I just told him a contract because when you kind of bullshit your way through contract talks with different teams.
Hold on, that's crazy. I just caught what you said. So your backup, the backup position was 60. Dude, my backup at Waltrips was 90.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, Waltrips, absolutely paid the shit out of their guys.
Yeah. It was amazing, man.
Yeah, so the 2 contracts, I go to Gary and I said, "Hey, you're going to lose me, so you need to set up something." Like Gary was dragging his feet for some damn reason on contract talks with me. And so I was like, "You need to do something because I'm going to sign this contract soon."
Yeah.
So he sets up a meeting with Sammy Johns and I text Sean and I said, "Hey, I'm having a meeting with Sammy. I'll let you know something by the end of the day." I said, and I literally told him, I said, "Don't worry about it. I don't think that they're going to come close to what you're offering." And I shit you not, dude. I go in this room and I tell them what Ganassi is offering me. And Sammy Johns looks me in the face and says, "We can do 120. And you know how hard it is to act not surprised when you hear that amount of money being thrown at you?
It's like,
I was
okay.
I was like, that'll work.
Yeah.
I didn't even give it a second thought. There was no like, let me talk to Ganassi. Let me go back and see what they think. It was, yes, I got it. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
Because that to me, I was, going through Penske, I was, making 50, 60 grand doing those deals. So this was double my salary from what I was used to. So I was like, damn, like I'd be stupid to turn this down.
Yeah, that's why everybody looked at me crazy when I was leaving Hendrick to go.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
you have no fucking clue what they're offering me.
So, and I felt so bad, man. I called Sean and I was like, look, dude, here's what they're, and he told me, he's like, I can't touch that.
Yeah.
And looking back, that's probably why Petty's lost the deals, while they're in the position they're in, because they were paying guys that much money. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, dude. I was like, there's no way this team has this kind of money.
Did you ever get to meet the King?
I did several times.
Good guy.
Yeah, really good guy. And then another guy, Dale Inman. He was a guy that's fun to hang out with and talk to.
That was his crew chief forever.
Yeah, Dale Inman's a good dude.
Yeah. Man, that's legends, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Legends of the sport.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nothing. Like when the car was on the setup plate, you'd see Richard out there under the hood looking at it. Telling him,
shit.
Oh yeah, dude. He's always out there.
Damn.
He was involved.
That's one place I wanted to work, man. Never got a chance to. That sucks.
It was that was hands down the best, the most fun pit crew that I've ever been a part of was that 43 car.
Who was that coach that was over there?
Rob Rogers.
He tried to get me over there, and I wouldn't leave Waltrip for it.
Yeah.
Well, no. It was after when Waltrip was shutting down.
Yeah. I will say this about Rob. Rob had this, he wasn't like a strength and conditioning coach in the sense of like, we need to lift weights and get bigger and stronger. He had a totally different approach to working out. His whole deal was, he's like, I don't want you to get bigger. I want longevity. So like, dude, we stretched and did yoga more than anything that I've ever done in racing workout wise.
We did a lot of yoga at RCR. I hated it.
Yeah.
It was like speed yoga, so everybody's straight sweating, dude.
Oh yeah,
it fucking sucked.
Yeah. Well, this was like a different. Like, I mean, that was probably the most limber I had ever been in my career.
Really?
Oh yeah, coach was good. I mean, I didn't hurt. I mean, felt great every time I went to the track.
Well, being a carrier, the biggest thing is getting your ass low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, that was the issue with Penske. Like at Penske, they hired a new strength and conditioning coach right the year that I started at Penske, and John tells the story. John Rowan, the coach at Penske, strength and conditioning coach, he tells the story that when he was hired, he asked Roger, like, what do you want? Do you want strength, speed? And Roger told him, I want him to look good in a fire suit.
What?
Yeah. That was his answer to coach. like damn. So there were so many times I'd go to the racetrack, dude, and my legs would still be sore from Wednesday's workout.
No shit.
Dude, I mean, we worked out hard at Penske. I mean, it was like every day was a max day over there.
Dude, I got a funny story. I thought I was working out hard at Hendrick. I just bullshitting around, you know what I mean? I get to Waltrips and we had a fucking workout, dude. And when I tell you I couldn't walk for a week, ask Jeff Carr if you see him.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he laughed at me for a week over that shit, dude. I couldn't even walk down the hill to go practice.
That's funny.
And I had to go practice. And carrying, you got to squat. And I'm like, dude, it was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, that was the best shape of my life.
How did you guys do? Did you guys typically work out then practice or practice then work out?
I really can't remember.
Because I hated.
No, we practiced then we worked out.
I hated working out then practicing. That's how Penske was, like, because they wanted you to practice fatigued, like under stress.
And then I think it switched up. No, because we worked out and then I had to go practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was like, especially if you did a squat day and your legs are jello and you're trying to jump off the wall with a 60-pound tire.
Dude, I kept telling my changer, I think it was Terry Spalding at the time. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
I can't get my ass down, dude. I'm fucking hurting. I think he was my changer at the time. I can't remember. Great place, man. Wish it never would have shut down. Loved it.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors. I used to work with the guy that worked in the gear room over there, and he told me some stories that I won't mention on the podcast, but he told me some stuff that he thinks why it actually shut down, because apparently there was sponsorship lined up still.
Yeah,
for that deal.
It was an amazing place to work, man. We had a good time there. The pit crews were good. We had a great fucking time, man. I wish it would have stayed open, but not my team to run, not my team to. I just follow orders. So.
Right.
But I had guys looking out for me, and that's how I got the RCR deal. But you know how that went.
Yeah, that was the hardest part about being a pit crew guy. Is like trying to network and trying, you know, because like, you know, when August and September rolls around that you need to start putting your neck out there, and you always feel like a bum
Yeah.
walking up to these coaches like, hey man, you guys looking for anybody next year? You know, I hated that.
And you knew some teams you can't even go to.
Yeah.
They're not even gonna look at
Like Gibbs, forget about it. Don't even, they come to you.
Hendrick.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Well, yeah, because unless you're a D1 athlete.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I did have a tryout at Hendrick one time for the '88 car.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they talked to me like it was David Mayo was the one that set it up.
Oh yeah, I know Mayo.
Because we had a badass race in Iowa and they were pitted next to us, and he was like, "Dude, I need to get you up here. We're losing." Because I think Kevin Harris was going to Gibbs. He's like, "We need to get you up here." So I went up there and tried out, and I was carrying for Nick Krismanich in the tryout.
No shit.
Had a good trial, yeah. And they were like, "Damn, and I'm glad I didn't." They ended up not.
Was it Coach Greg?
I can't remember, to be honest with you. But I'm glad they ended up not offering me that gig, because Dustin Lineback was coming up.
Oh yeah, he's a beast.
Oh my God. I mean, he was talking about a guy that can sling a tire.
Dude, I taught him how to carry.
Really?
Yeah,
Dude,
ask him.
And he's a good dude, man. He's
awesome.
Funny as shit.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him on this damn thing, but they got a clause in their shit where they can't talk about shit.
That's the bad. There's a lot of guys that are still in the sport that have awesome stories that you can't have on because of sponsorship issues. I remember I used to wear a helmet cam, like that. I would go back and watch my own videos and just post them up on Facebook or whatever. This was at Penske. I posted up a video from one of my helmet cams on my Facebook. I get a phone call. This was late. It was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was just I didn't know the number. It wasn't saved in my phone. And I answer it, and it said, and the person said, "You need to take the video down off your Facebook." And I said,
"Really?"
Okay. I said, "Okay." And I hung up the phone. And so the next day at the track, I'm like poking and prodding. I'm like, why did I have to take that video down? And I had gotten two different answers. One was Discount Tire didn't want their sponsor logo out there. And the other one was they were worried people were going to pause the video and look at our front suspension when the tire came off.
Are you serious?
That was their reason. That was the two different answers I got. And so I never posted another. I got a ton of videos saved, but I never posted any on Facebook after that.
That's insane, man.
Yeah. And see, that's why I was so excited to come on here, because the entire 8 years, you're like, when you work in NASCAR, you really don't have a voice. You have to be careful about a lot of stuff you either post on social media.
Image-based sport, and you got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have an opinion.
No.
You can't.
Or you won't have a job.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the RC thing, I mean, you couldn't have an opinion. I mean, that was just the thing. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, it didn't matter. Like, you needed to walk the line and be a company man. Like,
yeah.
If you weren't, you were
shoe out.
Yeah. You were the nail sticking out that was going to get hammered.
We were hammered. It is what it is.
At that one organization, we were.
Yeah. I got to be on the car I dreamed about being on, but damn, it was a nightmare to fucking live it.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah. The crazy thing was, man, it's like there are guys that have been at that organization for decades.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell did you put up with this for?
I'm sure it wasn't like that back in the day.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because there's some great guys that were on that 3-car with Dale that are badasses. You know what I mean?
Like the gear room supervisor I had, Kurt Ritchie. I think he said he was employee like number 7 that was hired when RC started his team.
Really?
Yeah. He had all kinds of cool stories.
Hell, me and Chocolate Myers had a great conversation. I actually took that sword to show him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
He runs a podcast out of the
radio show,
the museum up there, right?
Yeah. Good dude, man. Real good dude. I was kind of scared to go talk. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's kind of a big guy. I only saw him a couple times around the shop, but because he hangs out mostly in the museum. But I only got to walk through that museum once, and the coolest part was like going through the hunting.
Yeah, it's crazy where it goes down and around.
Yeah, and they had all the Richard's trophy animals down there.
The bucks, they had bears and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, but it's cool the way they did the museum that left it the way it was, and RC's office over there by
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yep.
I got three questions for you, man.
All right, go ahead.
If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be?
Like I said, man, I don't have any regrets in what I've done, but if I could make one decision that altered the course of my career, I would have taken that Ganassi job.
Really?
Any day of the week. I would have turned down the money at Petty's and gone totally different directions, or I would have stayed at Petty's one more year. because they were willing to let me stay another year. I might have had to take a pay cut, because they were downsizing quite a bit from 2 cars to 1 car. And, I would have, but I wouldn't have gone to RCR. I wouldn't have made that move.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the RCR deal with me was Waltrip was shutting down, and you know how you start freaking out about shit.
And, you'll sign anything when you know you're losing a job.
Yeah, and I went up there and I killed the tryout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, I don't even remember the damn dude. He was like, dude, and he wasn't even going to be my changer. That's the crazy thing. Yeah. Pulver was my changer. This dude's like, I'll give you some of my paycheck to have this dude. That's how much we gelled, but he wasn't even my damn changer.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's what, like, me and Josh Franco's when we were on the 27, dude. We were rolling. I mean,
really?
That's what I don't understand. It was never a performance thing that got me pulled off that car. It was the stupid behind the wall stuff.
That's crazy.
It just blew my mind. Like when they had that meeting with me, I was like, dude, this is the most asinine shit I've ever heard. Like, what are you talking? Why you're pulling me off the car? Not because of my indexes, but because of something that's happening out of my control.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's where my conspiracy mind comes in. Like it felt like they were looking for any reason just to get me off that deal.
You think they were?
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think we're all professionals in that industry, and I don't think that the behind the wall guys were purposely sabotaging. But what's the old saying? You never let a crisis go to waste. And they saw all that stuff going on, and they said, well, there's our chance. Let's get them.
Yeah. My next one is, if Ray Wright was sitting right here today, what would you say to him?
Ooh, I don't know, man. I'm not saying I wouldn't have a discussion with the guy, because I can't trust him. I mean, that guy blatantly lied to my face.
Yeah.
Several times, so whatever he said to me, I would take with a grain of salt, because I couldn't trust him.
I agree.
But I mean, he knew there was some personal stuff that I won't get into, that he knew that, financially I needed to keep that job to make some things happen in my life. And he knew that. He knew what was going on. And I told him that. And he let me get laid off anyway, because he told me several times when I told him this personal stuff, I'm like, he's like, dude, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You got a job. Don't worry about it. And here I am sitting in his office holding a manila envelope with my severance in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, how it's hard not to be bitter about that. And
I agree.
And I understand, in his defense, there's a lot of stuff that's out of his control. If word comes down from big guns upstairs, and I get that. What can he do?
But where's that stemming from to get upstairs?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
And there were.
Because I'll be honest with you, none of them motherfuckers, unless you're putting your name out there, know any of us.
No, no one upstairs does.
They might know a couple people from there.
Yeah, they only know when the paycheck crosses their desk and they got to sign.
Exactly. But they can't put this name with that face. Couldn't do it unless you're certain people.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But him sitting right in front of me, man, there was a long time that if I ever saw that man in public, I would have. I mean, he's a big guy, but I would have. He would have gone around or two. I don't know that.
Last one. What do you got going on today in your life, man?
Man,
I know you're married. You're a father.
Yeah, man. That's basically the bulk of it, man. I'm raising my little girl, which is when people were telling me what it's like to be a father before I was a father, I didn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
And I still kind of don't, but dude, it is literally the greatest feeling in the world. At first it was really hard, because she when they're infants like that, there's not much you just got to take care of them at that point, but now that she's going to be 2 in a week and a half.
Yeah.
And she's interacting with me. She talks to me, and it's like, dude, it's so amazing. Like I literally can't wrap my head around like how awesome it is to be a father. And, that takes up a bulk of my time. My wife and I don't have any hobbies, I like to drive around town and honk at people when the light turns green, but that's about about what I got going on, man. But
are you glad you waited to start a little family when you got out of racing?
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, because when I'm looking back, like, we really started talking about having a family at like 24. When I was 24, my wife was 23. And looking back, I was so immature back then. And when you think like 24, I'm 31 now. So it's like that doesn't seem like a lot of time to mature, but that's a lot of life experience in, 6 years, 7 years that, you can grow up and learn a lot. And
I agree.
I've learned a lot, man. And I'm glad. Yeah, it was perfect. I had my daughter. I was 29, getting ready to turn 30, and yeah, I mean, it's literally with the timing was perfect. I'm mature. I was out of racing. I feel more mature than I did back then. It's a blessing, dude. I can't wait to go home to her. Literally.
Yeah. See, like a lot of people ask me the same question, and I tell them there's no rewind button on time.
Right.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
Mhm.
And I literally turned of age to join the military, left the next day. Literally, my birthday's November 6th. I left for the military November 7th.
Damn.
Traveling all that time,
Mhm.
overseas, all these damn places. Then come to be in NASCAR. What are you doing every weekend? Traveling.
On the road.
And then I was going Thursday to Sunday, doing all 3 series at one point. It's shit's strenuous. And I watched my little girl go from being in diapers to now she's hanging out with her teenage friends, and it's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's been the craziest thing is like when I think like I remember when we brought her home, she's going through the crying thing. And I just remember like telling her, like, God, just please grow up, get out of this stage because I don't like waking up every 2 hours, to take care of you. And now like she's gonna be 2 in a week and a half. And I'm like, damn, slow down, kid.
yeah.
Because like I mean it breaks my heart to think that, I'm gonna be walking her down the aisle one day or something. I'm like, dang, man, like just slow down.
Yeah. Now my little girl don't want to hang out with daddy no more. She wants to hang out. Well, I mean, we still have her. We have a good time together, but
Yeah.
she loves hanging out with her little girlfriends. You know what I mean? Before it was just hanging out with daddy.
Yeah.
Not anymore. But it's a part of growing up.
Mhm.
So that was my regret.
Right.
I wish I'd have just sat on one series and been like, yeah, the money's great on all 3. Obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of money,
Mhm.
a lot of time gone though that you can't buy back. They don't make it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, I missed a lot of vacations, a lot of birthday parties, a lot of weddings.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that I missed in, 8 years that I didn't, now I'm enjoying, getting to go on vacation every
I
year with
mean,
my
do you
family.
miss it at all?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't,
Yeah,
you know.
me too.
But I miss the camaraderie.
Yeah,
I don't miss the money. I don't want to say that because it wasn't a monetary thing for me. I miss the adrenaline.
yeah,
I mean, just the van rides from when you do double duty from the track to the hotel, going to dinner with your buddies, and then hanging out at the track all day the next day, people watching,
people watching's fun.
man,
Nothing like it.
I miss all that about it, but I don't miss what we just talked about, the contracts, the
Every year.
political. I mean, I don't miss it. I don't miss going to Homestead and being like, damn, what am I doing next year?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. You can't wait for the season to end. I mean, it's a weird thing about racing.
Yeah,
Once it's over, you're ready for it to start back in 3 weeks.
it is weird.
It's so weird.
Mhm.
But then it's the longest season in sports. It really is.
36 weeks.
It's crazy, but it's a grind like no other. Like I said, especially if you're doing Xfinity and Cup,
Yeah.
and then doing trucks, Xfinity and Cup
Mhm.
is just strenuous, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, you pick your poison. Do you want to go work at McDonald's the rest of your life, provide for your family, or you want to be a professional athlete? And it was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
Not too many people say that they've done what we've done, man.
No, I know. Yeah, that's what's great. It's like once I got into I call it the civilian world. Like once I got into the civilian world, now the guys I work with, they're like, what'd you do before this? I'm like, I worked in NASCAR, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's kind and it sometimes it boggles my mind to think about it. Like, damn,
Yeah.
I really did do that, didn't I?
Yeah, no shit.
And so it was a good 8 years. It didn't, I wish I would have gone more, but I stepped away when my heart told me it was time to step away, and I don't regret that.
Yeah, I could have stayed in and worked in the shop, or
Mhm.
hell, they were trying to get me to drive a motorhome for Tad and Jody, for JTG, and I was like, hell no. I
Yeah.
can't wait to get back on a plane, let alone driving.
Yeah.
You out your mind?
Yeah, I know. That was the thing I never understood about racing was what the hell was the rush to get back to the damn plane for?
I don't know.
Like, are
We
you
almost died
Yeah,
trying to get back.
I was gonna say the race after the race was like fans would have paid top dollar to watch that race.
It's craziness.
I mean, there were people that wrecked vans. I mean, all you were gonna do is sit on the plane and eat a soggy sandwich and sit in the heat.
Unless it was In-N-Out Burger. Then it was worth
Yeah.
rushing back for, but
I don't know, but I never understood that. I mean, damn, I was fighting for my life in the back of these damn
You ain't lying.
vans.
Couldn't wait to get out of there and get on the plane just to sit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. Never understood that.
I guess so you don't have to sit by
Yeah.
someone else. You
I
get
know-
that
I know
single
that-
seat.
I know that if I ever got to rent a car, it's never going to be near a racetrack. I know.
Hell no.
That. I know what those guys did to them damn cars.
Me personally.
Yeah.
Well, bud, I've had a great time being on the podcast. I can't thank you enough for coming. I hope the people who are watching enjoyed it. We pretty much hit on everything I wanted to hit on, everything you brought up, and
Yeah.
it's been great. Good seeing you again. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for coming on, brother.
Dude, I appreciate you having me. This has been a blast.
Yes, sir.
Get some stuff off my chest.
Hell yeah. Hey, we might do another.
Hey.
Redo, have a sequel to it or something.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. Like I said, thank you for coming on, man.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.